And that was Widupa Vladimir Wien. The song was How the Shadow is Clear. And welcome to episode 20 of Radio Graffiti on Newgrounds Radio. And tonight, as if you're on Newgrounds and you see the banner say it's Senor Pelo, it's not. That's a bug that we're dealing with right now on Newgrounds. We actually have HIROTONFA. Welcome to the show, Hiro.
I accidentally muted myself. Hello.
Yeah. So, for everybody who's tuning in right now, Hiro is a resident Newgrounds poster, as well as, I think you're mostly well known for your Blue Rivers comic online.
For the most part, yeah.
But, yeah. Hiro is an artist, cartoonist, and currently game dev, if I'm not mistaken.
If you're not mistaken, yes, that is true. It's just it's a little project I've been working on in the sidelines, but I assume that's going to be a bigger topic later, so I don't want to ramble on too much about it at the start.
Yeah, we're going to be discussing it later on. But for right now, if anybody's tuning in, you can follow Hiro's work on Newgrounds. Right now, just type up HIROTONFA, HIROTONFA, on Newgrounds, and you'll find pretty much everything that he posts. And on Twitter, you can find it under the same handle, as well as on Webtoons, right?
Yes, I'm incredibly lucky that I was able to take this name for everything I have.
Your name's Hiro. Is your last name actually Tonfa, or wait?
Yes, my last name is actually Tonfa. You can dox me at my street address. My social security number is
X, Y, and Z right here.
Hiro is actually a nickname though that my dad gave me, and it's literally because he was always a massive like weeaboo for Japanese culture.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you got it from your dad. That's really cool. My dad named me after, like, you know, one of his, like, college friends who quit school and just became an underground chess gambler.
A chess gambler?
Yeah. No, not gambler, but he played chess underground.
Illegally, I see.
Illegally in Albania for money. And and my dad was like, this is the smartest man I knew. And he just doesn't know where he lives or what he's doing. and that's how I got my name.
That's very samurai, yeah. Very
or very Ronin. The chess, that's a good concept to draw, actually. The chess Ronin. You
I'm
just
sure there's an anime along those lines somewhere out there.
yeah. But yeah, also just to tune people in on the music that's playing in the background. Vladimir Wedepa is a Tulvan throat singer from the Russian Federation, or back when the USSR was still a thing. He was sent in prison, and apparently he wrote a bunch of his music while he was in prison, and they gave him a little buyout to play, and that's how that went about. And then he got released, and who's the big meme, not meme, but who's the music reviewer that's bald,
Oh,
wears glasses?
Anthony Fantano?
Yeah, Anthony Fantano. He reviewed his album, and I think that's how like it got skyrocketed into memehood. But it's genuinely really good music, if you ask me.
Yeah, no, a lot of those Central Asian hits are fantastic. Altai was another one I was listening to. I gotta look up their band name. I don't remember any of this.
But yeah,
But it's surprising how much variance you can get with the same. No, I'm not even gonna try. I can't do that noise. That's the best I can do.
yeah. I'm pretty certain I'm gonna be annoying my neighbors if I try doing that noise.
Maybe you'll unlock an ancestral blood fear or something somewhere along the line.
Yeah. But yeah, no. You make a lot of cartoons, a lot of comics online. On Twitter, what's your most current thing that you're doing right now on Twitter and
Most
Newgrounds?
current thing. Let's see. I've always been working on Blue River's Revolution,
Mhm.
and well, that was I feel like my main line skyrocketing the fame, just doing little shit post comics with her. But recently, I've been working on a little fantasy universe called Pawnee Historia in
Ponte
various
Historia.
mediums.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's also Sensoto Girls, which is a much looser project. Like, there's not really, I suppose, any sort of concrete project going besides just a general theme of these adorable girls just shooting at each other with LARP rounds.
Oh yeah, because it's a lot of the reenactment characters. That's what they do as a hobby, right?
Yeah, the lore is like not figured out, and it's like schizo. So, but basically, it's something to make all these girls do competitive teams for big championship money.
It's a little bit like Girls und Panzer.
Yes, it's very much like Girls in Panzer,
No,
which is why someone made like a comment or like a thread or something a while ago, like praising me for coming up with the idea, and I was like, I had to not only like clarify, like I got it from Girls in Panzer, but it's also like I don't own the military cartoon girls idea. That's a general concept that I inherited almost from a lot of other people as well.
yeah, like
I'd love to shout out Century C. There's a lot of other people, but my name's drawing a little. But that whole sphere of military waifu artists.
there's also just like cartoon history, political cartoons where people just drew cute girls in military
Mm.
gear. Even Yutsuka, the most recent like thing, not the recent thing. Yutsuka's been around since like a long time ago, but he's drawn her in military garb too. That was accurate to the
Yeah,
time.
those Hungarian People's Army outfits.
Yeah, no, it's military outfits are actually pretty cool. I like a lot of the looks and the aesthetics for it too.
When they
And
look good, I mostly just get very sad when the current day comes by. Like the
yeah,
that recent drawing I just did actually with the U.S. Navy like female outfits, like that is very classy, very nice, and the men and the woman both had a cape, and that's a really cool thing to give your Navy officers, but they don't wear capes anymore. What happened? It was such a cool thing. Now no one can feel like Batman on the high seas.
I feel it's people start not people, but I think the military is starting to like take away antiquated, not antiquated, but they're starting to feel things are a bit more antiquated than are worth holding over. to this day and age. I don't know.
It happens every 50 years or so. I'm trying to guess because obviously people in like World War One stopped dressing like Napoleonic or even Renaissance era mercenaries at a certain point, and I don't know. I guess shifting aesthetic taste, even when it's a worse taste.
Yeah, especially for the like naval officers, or not officers, administrators. What would you call them?
You mean like the sergeants or
Commanders.
the
Yeah.
petty officers?
No,
Oh,
petty
admirals.
admirals. Yeah. Oh no, because I'm thinking of Air Force has something else that they call their head honchos.
I think that's exactly the term they use, the head honcho.
The head
Or they
honcho.
might use the term Top Gun guy or
The
something.
Top Gun guy. They all the standard military, the Air Force garb. They have to wear the specific fur-layered bomber jacket with the aviators.
They have to look like Tom Cruise, yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't look like Tom Cruise, you have to get facial surgery. That's just how the rules go.
Funded by the U.S. government.
Yes, that's why he has so many stunt doubles, infamously.
Yeah, because they retire and they have nothing to do, right? So
I only said that. I think Tom Cruise is the one that does all his stunts, right?
So, you know, Tom Cruise, actually is, like, shitposting aside, he is the one that does all the stunts. But it would be funny if just, like, you know, he's sick one day, so they just hire a bunch of Air Force guys that retired who have gotten reconstructed facial surgery.
Like 50 bodies a day.
We'll never run out of Tom Cruises so long as we live.
So long as that red, white, and blue still flies.
But yeah. And Blue Rivers, I want to start getting into it like right now, actually. What actually prompted you to start Blue Rivers as a concept?
So Blue Rivers at first was, man, that was back in the old Tumblr days. She just started as like a sort of mascot character I could do for like little, like I said, shitpost ideas. Like I have a gag idea where someone's awkward at a restaurant, and instead of like apologizing to the waiter for saying like "you too," they just like start swearing and getting really angry in their head at them. And I guess that was also the point of the Blue Rivers origin, where I hate using the term like subversive because it's so overused now, or whatever a deconstruction is. I'm not even going to use the words properly, but she is very much like the anime girl in a way of like just how cartoonishly hostile and rude and arrogant and awful she is as a person sometimes. And most of the jokes just kind of stem from that.
And that's really funny because I feel even though you do make that part of her humor, I feel like people still treat it as very waifu-esque.
Yeah, because she's not like evil. She's just very stupid. And I also would like to add that like I love anime girls, especially when played straight. I guess this is just my stupid spin on it because I grew up in America where everything's a lot less. What's the word? There's some sort of word for it, like just an extremely clean, positive image, which isn't a bad thing to display. But we definitely don't do that in America. We have very underground sort of look.
Say so or something? No.
Say so?
It's something from the VTuber sphere that I'm not too sure of, and people are gonna get mad at me if I get it wrong.
They say kawaii over there.
You know what? Yeah.
The land of the rising sun.
Blue Rivers is not kawaii. She's
no, she's kawaii. She's scary.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, back. I'm sorry about that.
It's all right. It's all right. I forgive you.
That was the first time that ever happened on the show.
Well, it's fantastic. That's only good omens.
You know,
here.
you get the honor. One time, someone just like causes my computer to crash, and I lose half the show. This time, it's just I get a little bit distracted.
Yeah, the fans are on this time, right? You're not gonna blank out on us.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm not gonna pass out, or the computer's not gonna pass out yet. But yeah, no, it's Blue Rivers has been really fun to follow. at least for me as an audience member, because I just see the evolution and from character that went on to just be like, shitpost comics, not shitpost comics, but just goops.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I don't mind calling it a shitpost comic because after a while, these gags started to form together in sort of like a oh man, I'm losing terms left and right, but you know that kind of like parody of America, basically that gets turned up to 11 in the comics world, and then they just started taking it maybe not a little more seriously, but started bringing more drama potential out of it, and then that's kind of where it went from there.
Yeah.
You know, like how Earthbound doesn't say it's America, they say it's Eagle Land, and that because of that, they are able to make extreme parodies of American culture. You know, not mean spirited way, but a very uh, irreverent way sometimes, I suppose.
Yeah, it's as an inspiration for how everything turns out. And in Blue Rivers, you started to introduce an extended cast of characters around Blue Rivers, and it's just fun to see the development of that world and see it expand. At least in my personal opinion.
Yeah, it's very similar to our own America, probably because like where's the timeline split off from our own? I think somewhere in the 90s. So yeah, a lot of the things that would have happened are still happening in their world, like e-girls and VTubing.
Yeah, that's actually really funny. It's just a split timeline sort of deal that you're
Yes,
running with.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's how I describe the Blue Rivers verse. It's like looking into like a mirror universe where you spilled a lot of like cheap beers on from college.
No, I like that. It's very fun. And you do get the vibe from that too, because it just feels alternative. That's the best word I can bring it.
Yeah, alternative.
Do you design your own military garb based off what you think things would adjust or how things would adjust in that period?
Well, it's a bit of a convenient little lore thing in the background, but a lot of their very rapidly collapsing nation states ideology relies on kind of like gaining legitimacy for displaying a lot of old Americana. So most of the uniforms, I think 99% of them are pretty much just things from American culture. Some around from 1860 to 1960, that kind of range. The only new things really are like Inspector Omen's outfit and stuff like that, just with a crazy cape, because you don't really see that anymore in American culture outside of, I guess, city police departments back then.
Yeah. No, that's definitely something that's, and also the tech wear that he wears.
Oh yeah, yeah. They have much more advanced cybernetics. I forgot about that for a second, even though it's a crucial hook of the latest chapter.
Which is really interesting stuff to look at or into and posit. I just like the ideas that you go into it with. Also, how long does it usually take you to like write and draw out a chapter?
So the development cycle of each chapter is I give myself about a month, but of course I always procrastinate and end up doing most of it in the last week and a half. But I have a general outline, and
Mhm.
I would like to clarify too. I don't recommend anyone to ever follow the way I wrote Blue Rivers, but I have a general outline of things that need to happen, the major story beats, and then I make a like a bullet numbered list, and each chapter is like a section on that list. And then from there on, I build on that list. I write out page by page what I want to happen. Not the exact dialogue, but at least what needs to happen on that page. Then I do the thumbnails, and then drawing it usually takes about 3 to 5 days, I'd say. But that's because I have a very purposefully work efficient scheduling or format with the black and white kind of look.
Right.
And the reason I don't recommend this because the entire story was not written from the start, and that's a really stupid thing to do. And I'll frequently change the outline sometimes for what I think might be more of an appropriate spin to take the story. But I mean, the general endings always kind of stayed the same at least, so got that going for the plot. But it is a mess because of that. And if I had a magic switch to flip to not change the story entirely, but definitely rewrite some of the or repace some of the moments better, I would. But I'm also very interested to move on to other projects after finishing this beloved Blue Rivers project as well.
I think the way how you handle writing is very good for a constantly updating webcomic, actually, because that's what I do for my own webcomic. I have general outlines written out, and whenever I get to writing a chapter or going into the chapter for updates, I tend to I don't really thumbnail. I just draw out the pages as they go. So I'm even one step below you, where I just go straight to the page. And I just base it off of whatever I have in the thumbnails. I don't write my dialogue either. I write my dialogue usually not the day of, but whenever I'm creating the page. Just to see what feels natural for the characters. And it plays out like a movie that I'm watching. Unfold.
That's a very good way to think of composition, for sure.
Yeah. And that's how I make it, and it helps me keep the story flexible. If I need to change something, I don't need to stick too hard to a script. If I come up with a better idea, I can just switch to that. And I feel like you're similar with Blue Rivers.
Yeah, a lot of like I said, the chapter will remain mostly the same, like the story beat that has to be covered or something like that. But what goes around it will probably change in that like week and a half. Not drastically, but definitely a little, especially each word.
And I was thinking about the alternative history element of Blue Rivers. I was thinking about Fallout too, and I know you're a big Fallout fan.
Yes, I am a big Fallout fan.
I gotta ask, how did you handle the Caesar stuff, or Kaiser?
The Caesar stuff?
Yeah, within New Vegas.
Oh, I thought you meant the Blue Rivers comic.
Oh yeah, no.
Yeah, because there was a part where they just start like shouting because the new warlord has now become. Spoilers. Never mind.
Yeah.
How to handle the Caesar stuff? My first playthrough was like Mr. House. Honestly,
yeah,
he was the one that made the most sense to me overall. But so like everything after that was kind of like I was never really fully invested into.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to go like super autistically in depth with an analysis of Caesar's Legion in like a pure pragmatic economic sense, but
I got a lot of things to say about that, but I won't. But yeah.
All right, yeah, it depends how much you want to keep this Fallout rant monologue going. I think they're a fascinating faction. I like how they're written, but I mean, you just kind of look at them and it's like they're trying to do Rome, but they're missing the whole foundation of Rome, which is starting from a city-state.
Yeah.
And having their own kind of pre-built culture instead of being a nomadic army on the move, which is basically what the Lombards and the barbarians invading Rome did, which I mean, they ended up like assimilating and adjusting, but that's kind of the thing, right?
Yeah.
They didn't really make Lombardia outside of like a region in Italy to take over the Roman Latin culture of the entire Mediterranean.
There was an attempt to try and mix it together, and I feel like that's appropriate for what was happening within Fallout New Vegas, where he was just trying to establish his power, and even then he was using Rome as a base guideline, almost deifying the Roman Empire in a way to better amass followers for his New Vegas Caesar's empire, the Legionnaires. But when I got up to my first playthrough of Fallout New Vegas was pure. It was Mr. House technically, but I also wound up murdering Mr. House at the end of it. And spoilers for Fallout New Vegas, but I mean everyone's playthrough is different, relatively. But my whole shtick with Fallout New Vegas, my first playthrough, I was thinking, you know what? I want Vegas to be free. I want every person to live for themselves. So I want like an anarchy state New Vegas as best as I could do it within the realms of the choices that the game gives you. And I wound up killing every faction except the kings. Because when I
Whoa, smooth moves. Oh, wait, no, that's the top. I forgot what the Elvis impersonator said. Whoa.
Hail to the king.
Rick and Morty time.
But I was so charmed by the kings, and the way how they love Elvis, and they base their lives off of what it means to be a real man via the Elvis way, and it just kept making me laugh.
That's
But
pretty much. I mean, without getting too much into Ponte, that's pretty much the background of the main empire or the main character's empire, where they just found a bunch of like old samurai and like culture kind of stuff in there. It's just an empire like that started from foundation of like weeaboos, basically.
it's great. No, I love that type of mentality. But yeah, as soon as I got to Caesar, at first I was thinking, okay, let me hear this guy out, and let me hear what he has to say for himself. Like, why is he being a self-proclaimed like autocrat, essentially? And then he mentioned Hegelian dialectics, and I was like, I stopped listening to whatever he had to say for the rest of his dialogue. I know he goes on for way longer. I shot him straight in the face, and then I had to just deal with the entirety of the Legion just going after me.
Praetorian Guard.
Yeah,
You literally did the meme of like POV. You read like 50 treatises on history, but I have a gun, and I'm like, or, like I'm bigger and stronger and faster than you.
yeah. That whole playthrough, I was trying to get through it as much as possible without spending my ammo, and I just had like a Magnum with a bunch of Magnum rounds, and I also unlocked the mysterious stranger feat. So he was helping me out throughout the entirety of it, and escaping that. No, that was just like that was my favorite moment. That still like lives on as the height of Fallout for me in terms of the whole franchise. Just because I could do that.
A fun world with the amount of when they do it right, the gameplay is just great.
Yeah.
But getting to like the autocrat thing, without getting too controversial or anything, but that's kind of the fascinating thing about the Fallout world in general, where it's law and order and safety is pretty much the goal of every single faction.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to Caesar's Legion specifically, like promising we value law and order more than the rest, I don't know if that's technically true or not, because that's basically the biggest thing they have going for them ideologically. But almost every other faction can also be tweaked and tuned to do the same thing. When I think about like a hyper militaristic, very maybe not isolation society, but a society definitely tuned for what do you want to say? Almost supporting the military entirely. I think of the Brotherhood of Steel as a much better option, though they're definitely closed off. I still like the whole cut of their jib in general of like being descended from military veterans and just going autismo with their night harp. But that's what I mean too, of like they do it better than Caesar's Legion despite just having too few numbers.
Yeah.
Mr. House is also a self-proclaimed autocrat that does it better pretty much once he gets the resources he needs pretty much overnight.
Yeah, and I do like a lot of that, but I LARPed as myself essentially when I was playing.
That's great.
And I was just like, okay, if I could do anything, I would just try and like whittle down people's dependence on a hierarchical class, essentially, where someone is just pretty much enforcing their own philosophies onto others. And then I just moved aside from that. I was like, oh, you know what? It's the desert. It's the post-apocalypse. Let's let everybody be free and make their own decisions without having anybody really bring anything about that. I forgot to kill the powder kegs my first playthrough too. So it was just
well, those guys are the most free of all.
Yeah. According to me.
But that's the interesting thing too about hierarchy and class, because that's the really fun critique that the NCR goes into of the almost LARPing pre-war America republic for the sake of it. Of it's a republic where everyone's born free and equal, but I'm pretty sure by the events of New Vegas, it's a loose nobility running like the Senate. Like no commoners are really in there anymore. Not since the old days.
Yeah, it's a lot of it's multiple different systems and factions at play with good intentions. For the most part, not all of them, but mostly good intentions, and then things start falling apart, or something. There are chinks in their what's the word? In their
There has to be
ideologies.
some
Yeah.
sort of cohesion, yeah, or some vision, even, yeah, of
Yeah.
the culture. And that is one thing that the Legion tries to promise, but as the game itself states multiple times, and also real history would say, the second he goes, there's no successor. So
Right.
there's no vision even after his lifespan is over. Whereas the NCR at least has somewhat of a vision, as flawed as their execution is,
I don't know.
and as much as they can't really even vocalize it themselves very well. The soldiers are like, why are we in New Vegas to annex it? Why are we shooting townspeople to establish military rule? I don't know, freedom something. But that's something, I guess, of a vision.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen this anime, or read the novels, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, by any chance.
Yes, I've been starting to watch that anime. I'm not very far in, but
It covers a lot of these topics too.
yes.
And I for anybody watching, which one are you watching? The old '80s one or the newer one?
The old 80s one. I was only like 3 episodes in, but I've seen, of course, like the webms and the clips of some other speeches and stuff people like showing.
Yeah, it's a really, for anybody listening, Legend of the Galactic Heroes is a novel series written by, who's a writer?
Not
Uh,
Tomino, it's the Gundam guy.
oh no. Yoshiki Tanaka. I'm okay looking it up. It's by Yoshiki Tanaka. Yeah, it a bunch of novels set in the far future where there was just this entire, how would you describe it? Far future of humanity, where humanity starts traveling the stars and settling in the galaxy, and they start developing, their own factions within the galaxy. And then it got separated into two factions ultimately, and Legend of the Galactic Heroes is a mock documentary series, or like a historical documentary series discussing the events that were happening at that time. And every episode is a dramatization of those events, like you would read in a textbook, for example, in a history textbook, where you get a paragraph to describe an event that happened, and the episode of the show would pretty much dramatize it, turn it into a relatable thing, like
It's
modern.
very similar and clearly inspired by Dune, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's Dune. If it weren't for Dune,
It's the Tolkien of the sci-fi, pretty much, yeah. Or at least space operas might be a better term,
yeah,
and which I love.
Dune is also phenomenal as a just in general novel series.
Yeah, but something like LGH and I mean, I guess a very close thing to it is a Romance of Three Kingdoms. Both all the adaptations in show form and
Oh yeah,
actual books themselves, they're very similar to this thing of just going over the rise and fall of like three feuding states, and that's really cool. And it's something I want to write one day, but I don't know how. It's so monstrously complicated of a story to start crafting. It would probably take me like 8 years just to get the writing down in
you
a
would need
decent way.
you would need to be essentially writing a textbook,
Yes,
and then
pretty much.
and then afterwards. I mean, funny enough, that's what I did with Boxcar. I made an entire alternative Earth world history that's around 400 pages long, and I pull from that for anything that I need to do or cover. But I don't get into it at all. That's the thing.
Yeah, but just to have that kind of lived in feel, I know what you mean. I kind of have something similar, though I've been trying to step away from, ironically enough, world building too much and not focusing enough on plots and characters, and to kind of like compensate for that. And this is something I'm very excited to do if it turns out I'm half decent at making RPG games or whatever, of just lots of characters. So instead of like focusing on like making even like the tribe or a culture first, I'll write a character from this part of the planet and the character from this other part of the planet. What do they do? How do they feud or whatever? And then whole kind of societies I'm able to like kind of form out from that like conflict or whatever they were looking for. Uh, Again, like a lot of Ponte isn't out, so maybe it's a bad thing to start showboating in like regards to this. But like the entire Midland Empire, I wrote it starting from what if like this guy in the post-apocalypse where everyone's like in a medieval kind of technology level finds a underground bunker just full of like weeaboo stuff, or like a weeaboo's like paradise of samurai artifacts and manga, and then give it like 80 years and all of a sudden there's now an empire just based off these things, and everything kind of just flows out from that one first character idea I had, who's also now the ancestor of the current emperor, and that's also a fun dynamic to just consider and work with. Little things like that.
Yeah, it's I think world building is very difficult, and trying to set up a concept like that is just a little bit. It's a daunting challenge, to say the least.
Oh, incredibly, incredibly difficult.
It took me, I want to say, 8 years. No, it took me 7 years to write the entire history of Boxcar, and this is before I even started writing the story and the characters, and I had to change a lot throughout that period. And I mean, I feel like I feel like I could do it better now because I was just a babe in the world trying to think about how to do these things. And I feel like it might be easier now. I mean, just for games in general, since we were talking about games, there's the Soul series. Just in general, on how you develop lore for that and a history, like a working functional history for it.
Story through item descriptions and maybe less than a paragraph of like text from most characters is fantastically well done. Like a lot of bang for buck.
And then there's just a ton of history from that. I mean, Fallout as well does a lot of this, where there's the active story that's happening, but then there's the implied events and history to piece together. And this is across all Fallout games, ever since the first one. Even though the first one was more campy.
It was a lot more barren as well, and understandably, it felt so desolate. There wasn't much. There still was politics going on, but there's not much you can do with literally like 5 starving towns or something in all of California.
Yeah.
But then too, the city states start forming. Like, oh yeah, there's like a lot of the quests have to do with like their attempts basically to gain one over on the other city states.
It's
very Bronze Age.
That's a good way of putting it, actually. I wasn't thinking about Bronze Age as a just the way how people were developing their own like towns and areas. Humanity regressing because of war, which again, always a thing from Fallout. And yeah. Oh yeah, for people that are on YouTube right now watching in the background that I haven't started yet, here's HIRO's game, Ponza Historia, because we were also talking about Ponza Historia, and now we're mentioning games too, so I might as well just like go off it. But yeah, if you want to talk about Ponza Historia right now, here is the best time.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm at a blank, honestly, what to talk about. It's a little mini RPG I made. It's going to be available completely for free, though I always appreciate little tips and donations and such. And it's my basically first experiment to seeing if my style of writing and humor works better in game form. And it's pretty much all started from just me thinking casually that I sometimes will stop or interrupt a story or a pacing to make a joke that may or may not have been worth it, and also took up like a page of like a 10-page update. But in a video game, I can just make an NPC or a little side quest do it, and it doesn't feel like it's interrupting the pacing because it's the reader's choice or the player's choice where they want to see funny cutscene happen or not. And from there, just kind of flowered out into a hopefully semi-coherent little mini RPG shitpost exploring the universe. It takes place in a little, or not a little, it takes place in one of the big towers that the Empire lives in. And yeah, that's basically it. It should be available later this week. I'm still waiting for a few of the musician KC/Great Tree, shout out to him, to finish up some tracks, and then it's basically the full release outside of little bug fixes that I'll hear about, I'm sure, in the coming days.
When it came to writing for the game, how would you differentiate it between writing for, let's say, your comic, for example?
That's actually a pretty good way to do it. Speaking of Fallout, this is actually crazy, and this is no lie, coincidence. Things work out weird this way sometimes. I was reading the Fallout design documents for a reference of like how to write or get started pretty much with figuring out what's going to go in the game or not. And the Fallout design document pretty much just goes like location by location. So it'll make like a big header saying like this is the prison. These are the things in the prison. This is the things you can do in the prison, the quests you can get, the things you can find. Here's how it relates to another town over there, and then it starts a whole new header and it writes everything you can do in that town. And I was like, okay, there's something. So I just wrote I didn't want the scope to be too big, so I focused on just staying inside this one mega tower to really get a feel for the imperial culture before we go exploring the foreign cultures or even the other regional cultures of the empire. And because of that, I would start writing like, here's an illegal casino, here's the sewers, it always goes in every game, of course. Here's like the farm, and then I write like, here's the things in the farm, here's the factions that play here, and then here's how they also relate to the faction over here, blah, 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 that kind of jazz. But the thing I really like about it, unlike a comic, is after I even release like a beta or something like that, if I feel like one area is lacking, the pacing's too slow here, could use another joke here, another cutscene here, not only can I just add more things to it in an update and then people like cheer you on instead of like going to arguments forever on like a comic retcon or something like that. I can also just completely cut and paste like an entire cutscene from one location to another if like the pacing works better there. And that's a really cool power to have in storytelling.
Yeah, because you're not stuck. I mean, it's especially when you're developing. At some point, you gotta say, "I'm done with the game," and just like finish it and release. Oh yeah,
It's always very tense, yeah, of a moment.
the-
Though I've
the-
only done it like once so far, but it did feel very tense. Of like, oh, everyone's gonna see how broken this piece of shit thing is, and then from there, though, once you take in the constructive criticism, it gets a little less broken. Each update.
and when you say writing, you wrote it piece by piece, so section by section. So if I were to liken it to anything, it's like, don't take it the wrong way, One Piece, where every
Yeah, I don't have anything against One Piece.
Yeah. No, but I mean just in general, because like comparing something to something else. But the way how One Piece handles its story arcs is mostly set on locale and location, especially right now.
Actually, without maybe not putting this in like the video or something, but let me just send you straight up the design doc I was working with. Don't read too far ahead for spoiler reasons, but you can kind of see how I organized it here.
Actually, that's going to help
at
me
least-
out a lot because I'm planning on like making something for myself at some point.
Oh, a little RPG Maker thing as well.
Yeah.
Oh, very exciting. Yeah. Oh, it's so much. That's another reason why I started doing games, especially as a fellow comic reader. You would surely understand. I don't say this out of laziness. I say this out of a desire to tell more story or
Yes,
more in
yes.
depth and other elements of exactly that, where I could spend 10 panels drawing the same guy talking, or I could make one drawing, really, maybe two drawings if I want to do emotions for one character, and then now he can say 500 lines in separate points of the game without me having to redraw this single panel over and over. And everyone says, of course, in a comic you can do different compositions, different angles, and such. But it's like, how many ways can you really draw the same guy 500 times in like 3 updates during a dialogue-heavy section?
Yeah.
That kind of jazz. But yes, I'm interested in being able to tell more story with this stuff.
That's the most attractive part about game design for me, as at least for RPGs, because man, it's a struggle just to draw, let alone like a comic, but even animation. If you just wanted to make like a huge animation trying to tell as much story as possible, it takes so much effort.
Listen, hats off to like you for like even doing that with the boxcar animation. It looks beautiful and stuff. But like me personally, I can't imagine the amount of hours that has to go in to make something beautiful, of course. But you know, it's just so many work hours, as you said, and you surely know.
Yeah, it's a lot, and it's not like game design is any easier or anything like that.
No, of course not. But there's like a different sort of process. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But in terms of narrative, man, games have such a strong advantage. It's games and books where I
Yes.
feel you can just tell so much story and not even struggle to
Yes,
get that
exactly.
story out there. And that's why I still read books, and that's why I like to play games a lot, because sometimes I just want story and narrative, and I don't need to get distracted by too many other features like how this shot is composed or how well what's the word? How well
There's
executed something is.
Yes, there's a very real advantage to also. I really hate like coming off like I'm picking on comics as a medium or something like that. So I'm definitely not trying to do that. I'm just talking about how I'm finding my own personal uh which medium I can use my skill set the most advantageously. And something with games is that even if they're solo RPGs meant for a single person to be picking at those controls with, uh, people feel open to watching other people play it on like a couch next to them, spending a night together with the boys, just like cracking open a new game or something like that. And that's something that I very sadly realize no one ever can really do with a comic. Some people can try, I'm sure, to flip pages together, especially when they're like 6 years old or something. But
Yeah.
it's difficult to do, and it's difficult to invite your boys to say like, "Hey, come read the new Yotsuba on my computer screen together at my house for a whole night." And that kind of like social element of being able to enjoy something in a group, even if you don't have to with a solo game, is something that's really cool to me. Because another shout out, though everyone's heard of, is like the Yotsuba manga. I love Yotsuba a lot. It's one of my favorite comics of all time. I'm sure it's many other people's favorite of all time, but almost everyone I recommend it to that would be very interested in it and they express interest in it, they always go like, "Oh, I'll get to it another time" or something like that, and then they spend their time doing something with a friend or something instead, like even a solo game or whatever, just to chill out with. And that made me realize there's something about, I guess, the audience perception towards comics, and I don't know if they'll ever be able to change that. Kind of prevents you from even sharing comics to other people casually. I don't know what it is.
It's
And I keep saying that term over and over, but
it's because people don't really there's the idea of spoilers within comics
mm,
where, and it's also, for the most part, people don't read that much nowadays,
yeah.
and that's a sad fact. Games hold people's attention a bit better. Movies, people watch movies more, and there's more of an active community discussing it at the same time. With comics,
Yes.
it's a very solitary type of experience, because the way how you read one, like let's say a comic book, one person could be reading it at a much slower pace than another person, and it's hard to gauge what someone is focusing on as opposed to another person. And there's not that big of an element of discovery or picking up new facts or people discussing these types of things compared to games, where games is just a lot of exploration, especially for solo RPGs, where you're just going from one part or element to another. Like, for example, right now in Ponta Historia, I picked up a gun and now I'm shooting rats with guns.
And I'm able to deliver a little quip with I remember Tito says something about like the gun being used as a murder accessory most likely.
Yeah, no, it's really funny. Or
It's a very dark and tragic spin on his character going around shooting rats with that gun. I didn't mean for anyone to take it lightly at all.
this is truly deeper than Undertale. But you said
I
you
lost.
you worked on this
Oh,
with RPG Maker, right?
yes, this was coded in VX8, which I will never make the mistake of doing again. At least I'll be moving to like a newer edition of the engine because this one just has a lot of things that people will ask for a fix to, and then I'm like, that's this engine is very limited in that regard. Like something you might have noticed. I don't know if you're playing with a controller or not, but you can't use like an Xbox D-pad with VX8 games, and I don't know why that is. And there's not really an easy way to fix that. But in all the later versions of RPG Maker, of course, you're able to do that right out of the box without any need for updates on the developer's part.
Huh.
Little things like that.
Interesting.
So I don't recommend VX as a. I mean, I guess if you find it for like $1 or something, you get it for anything else, sure, play around with it. But I would definitely recommend one of the newer ones for any less headache-inducing things for the audience.
Oh man, I can't wait for people to see this on YouTube whenever I'm playing, because there's just a lot of really funny little jokes happening here and there.
Yeah, well, I'm glad. I was always very worried about do I really want to take pot shots at people? Sure, I guess, yeah, the whole like millennial Hollywood style like marvelization of writing with comedy, where it's like, that just happened constantly, and so I'm always definitely afraid that my comedy is like approaching that tone or that level of junkyard quality. But from what other people have been playing have said, they all found it amusing or funny, and it's all people with different senses of humor. So that's a big plus in my book. People say humor is subjective, but if you're truly funny like me, no one will ever say that.
If you're actually goated. No, the nice
You're
thing
loaded
about
with the sauce, yeah.
the nice thing about releasing something online or just making anything is seeing people's reception to it. And naturally, I feel comedy evolves the more people respond to what you make that's funny. And essentially, you pick up a flow, an understanding of what makes something funny. Because when you're by yourself, you can't really, you can tell a joke that makes you laugh, but like, it's not going to make everybody laugh,
I'm sure mental sides do that all the time. Yeah. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. That like, even if you don't experience the comedy with someone at the moment, you're able to share it with someone later, and then instantly, how does that conversation always go with this friend when you share the same joke you saw, where it's like the eyes go bright and they go, "Yeah, I love that one. That's so funny." It's a good joke lives way beyond the moment you tell it, and that's kind of the beauty of comedy.
My favorite bit is back when I was a student working on animation and just releasing a short film in front of like a bunch of people. Because yeah, I've played the joke over myself 800 times, 1,000 times, and I know exactly what my story is. But seeing people look at it with fresh eyes always gives me a little bit of hope, because like I'm like, oh, thank God they find it funny, because I did not after a while. But yeah,
There's definitely some moments that in every work where the author is very unsure about, and then it turns out to be a surprise hit. And then there's the part that the author crafts for months and years in the dark, and he goes, "This is my magnum opus section of this like thing I made," and then no one cares about it really, or they move on right by like the wham sentence or
oh
however
yeah,
you refer to it. It's
there's
just
a
part of the experience, I guess.
there's a lot of unlearning that needs to happen with that too, where sometimes something that you're very proud of is just not going to have that reach, and you can either let it bother you or you can just move past it.
The wrong the part of that sentence, but I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And just off of your own experience, were there any times where you wrote something or told jokes that you feel like people didn't really understand or move past?
There's definitely been moments like that, but I can't remember any off the top of my head. But I'm like being 100% serious when I say that. There's definitely like some Blue Rivers updates I've done where I'm like, this is fucking awesome, and then it gets like very little attention or comments or DMs from anyone just talking about it. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, I guess. But like you said, you just have to move on. You learn what works, you learn what doesn't. Uh, Something you see a lot of artists, especially nowadays, but I think it's been this problem for as long as time of like attaching their emotional state to the how their work is received is a very stupid idea. Like
Oh, yeah.
you're a full human being, you're not just your job. And if you attach your forever mood based on your job performance, it's a very bad idea. When
Oh,
someone criticizes your work, they're definitely not criticizing you unless they're explicitly like calling you a big dumb meanie head or something. Then, I mean, it's always pretty obvious. So yeah.
yeah.
So
It's the way how you need to go about creating something is first you make something for yourself first and foremost. What do you enjoy doing? That type of idea. And then afterwards, when you put it in front of other people, you have to see how they respond, and there's a give and take. You don't want to give too much of yourself up for other people, but you also have to see, hey, is what I'm trying to say getting across to other people? Do they understand what I'm trying to go for? And if
Yes.
not, what can I do to make it more easily understood?
I really like that you get it. I guess we're on the same wavelength of like understanding both sides of this give and take because obviously I want to make something that just helps people as a whole. I guess
Mm-hmm.
as like preachy as that sounds or whatever. I don't even know like helping in a real like groundbreaking philosophical way, but at least just to give people some laughs and stuff that they'll remember or inspire them to make their own more lighthearted like comedy things, of which I think there needs to be more. I mean, a lot of people say it's over flooded with comedy, but then you see Smiling Friends and you're like, that was good. And I've been craving something good for like 10 years, with mainstream stuff in that kind of like lighthearted comedy tone. And it's really hard to do well. People underestimate it. And but you also have to make something that you don't want to uh, I don't want to use a very algorithm unfriendly word for it, but something that will make you hate yourself for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I get
So
you.
that's the first thing I like start with, honestly, where I go like, would I enjoy working on this thing? And then yeah, immediately after I start thinking of like, okay, well, what could people like my friends or even just like my fans would they probably enjoy somewhat of a topic? Obviously, not letting too many chefs in the kitchen or whatever, but um,
Yeah,
yeah, at the end of the day, you can't just make complete gibberish or
yeah.
self wank pity stuff, of course.
You make your own. At the end of the day, you have the final say for whatever you make, and I feel like that's
Art is a
very.
dictatorship. Yeah, I love that quote, unironically.
But yeah, and it's very it's a very humbling experience, and I feel every creator needs to go through that every now and then just to have the confidence to make something that they want to make. And then there's also the idea of just trying to pander too much to an audience, where I feel some people fall into that trap when they have no confidence in their own story or whatever they're making.
Yeah, and it's sad because they don't realize that what the audience that they built in the first place that they're pandering to wasn't there for the pander. They were there for the original audience appeal before the pandering started. And a lot of people will name, of course, like I don't even think BuzzFeed is like relevant anymore, but the old like comics. No, man, I'm taking too many pot shots again.
No,
But
that's okay.
maybe not specifically BuzzFeed comics, but like the hashtag extremely relatable, kind of very milquetoast stuff. And I think there's a niche for that. I don't want to disparage this stuff forever, but
Hmm.
I don't think a lot of not everyone can do that. And something in that regard is what people think about when you think about someone that does no art only for themselves and only for attention or to make money. Not even attention, but you know what we're kind of talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But the more unspoken one of pandering too much to the audiences. I mean, you see a lot in like animations and long running shows and stuff like that, where they take in too many audience ideas and stuff like that. Obviously, like they're reading the forums on Mongolian basket weaving forums and such, and it makes the work really tank and nosedive because it just starts like trying to fulfill like every audience like members like fantasy, but it's not every audience member's fantasy. It's just like the few guys who like will comment online like extremely verbosely and constantly. And then, oops, 99% of the audience said like, it just felt like it was pandering to me too much, so I stopped watching it. We're not pandering to me specifically, but pandering to certain sections, I guess, of the audience.
It sometimes stories feel like they don't have their own direction, where it feels like the direction is being taken off by someone other than the author.
Yeah, this kind of started even with like, I don't know if the show was Happy Days, but it happened to like even a 50s show. I'm trying to
Oh
remember
yeah.
what it was.
No,
Yeah,
no, no.
where
It
it's
was
like
Happy Days, yeah.
It was Happy Days, and after a while, it just stopped being its own lighthearted little comedy thing and just started being exclusively about this fan favorite character, and then that just kind of ruined the show because that wasn't the point of it all, I guess, or even the point of why the audience was watching the show in the first place.
Yeah, but that happens a lot with a lot of commercial media where it's not just about one author, especially when you're working commercially. It's less about you and it's about trying to maximize audience potential as a writer.
Mm-hmm.
And because you mentioned Happy Days, and I feel yeah, we can mention it.
Happy Days.
Monday, Tuesday. I still have an animation in mind with that song. One day, but whatever.
It's a very cute show, yeah.
Yeah. But as I was saying, Happy Days is more commercial because it's a show built on trying to get more ratings. There is merit to even making something like that because again,
of course, yeah.
There's a human element involved when creating, always. But sometimes that human element gets pushed aside to try and get more ratings, attention, marketability, and sales because you're pitching for ad time too whenever you're making a show like that. I'm thinking more of a like an independent artist at the moment. And can I try and do something that will pander to like I could do fan service, you know? And I know people will respond very well with fan service, but I don't like doing fan service personally in my work, for example. And that's like a judgment call that you have to make as a creator of what are you willing to sacrifice to gain more attention on your work? And do you think it's worth it? Does it help the integrity of your work or does it harm it? That type of idea.
It's a constant balancing act, and I mean, again, no disparaging all close friends and family, but this is the kind of case for every artist, I think, on the planet where they don't really know what they want or what they're looking for when you show them your work. Most of the time, they'll just like put the thumbs up and says like, "Oh yeah, it's great," but then after like years of banging your head against the wall for a project, they'll start like coming out with comments that are very honest, going like, "Well, I always thought this thing was a little off and this thing was a little weird." And it's like, I wish you said this 2 years before I started this project and put in so much labor into it. But that's the thing too of not even just friends and family, but even the audience sometimes doesn't even know what they want, and when they vocalize what they don't even know what they want, it gets even on the whole nother layer of rigmarole. I can't pronounce that word.
Rigmarole. Oh no, I died. I'm a zombie. I'm dealing with rigmarole.
Mortis.
All
right, we're going to gibberish now.
Yeah. No, it sometimes it devolves that way. Sometimes when I get along with people, it's just like words start turning into noises, and the references just keep going.
That's a good sign.
But yeah, it's I do like that. Do you plan on releasing Ponte on Newgrounds?
The game?
Yeah, if it's possible at all.
If it's possible, yeah, I don't mind dropping the VXAs thing there, or I guess at least post advertising. I don't know, yeah, if I like, I can just drop off a downloadable file or not, because it definitely can't be run, I think, in a browser, sadly.
Oh, there's no way to just. Oh no.
Unfortunately, no. But again, the later editions of RPG Maker, they let you like embed it straight into like a website, and that's like crazy to me.
Oh.
Like, if you go even at like itch.io and like look up some RPG Maker games, I don't know what you have to search to find it, but they will run straight from the webpage. It's crazy. I don't know what witch magic those Japanese developers got going on under the hood, but yeah, crazy shit, man.
Oh, that gives me ideas right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna think about making micro games now. Okay, that's another discussion for another point. But yeah, what was the learning curve for making an RPG for yourself? Not just the writing for the narrative and how events happen, but mostly the technical element of making a game.
The technical element. I was gonna say, like, in a broader project management sense, I think it's the same of every new medium you work with, where you try to make the smallest possible complete package, even if it's shit. But
Yeah.
so, when you start making, when someone comes to us usually and like asks like, how what do I do to make like a comic or something like that, I always get the same answer, like make a 10-page complete story. Once you can do that, you start figuring out a lot. Like you start learning a lot of like the mistakes and stuff. Keep making 10-page stories, move up to a 20-page full story, move up to a 30-page full story. And in that case, it's pretty much the same with RPGs. I messed around with the project a bit like months and months ago. And then I made a little mini RPG following like a tutorial where very milquetoast stuff of like you wake up in a village, you pick up a quest from the king, go slay a demon. But it's, you learn how these mechanics work, how to code, or not even code, it's RPG Maker, how to slot random things together to make it appealing, because everyone knows what a typical JRPG village burning cutscene looks like. You wake up from your house, there's the fade in, fade out black, the noise, the evil villain laughing. But no one really knows before they mess with this stuff to what goes into that. Each like frame, of the cutscene that you have to like animate, or maybe not each frame, but each step along the way. Like, how do I play the sound effect when the villain laughs? How do I have it fade into black? How do I have a fire crackling in the effect? Is this too loud of a fire effect? Blah 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 blah. And yeah, the little mini Slay the Demon King story taught me a lot about the process, and from there I was able to kind of build out. But yeah, same with every project. You start with the smallest self-contained story you can. You work your way up.
I think that goes along with what a bunch of my other friends say. I've interviewed other people that made games on Newgrounds too. Shout out to Keith Garces and Zach Garces. They made
Garces.
the Garces brothers. I'm not even joking. They are. But yeah.
No, I won't mock them for being brothers. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's hashtag darn adorable.
But yeah. Shout outs to them. They made Rushdown Rivals on Newgrounds alongside another game, Stress Quest. They make very small, manageable game ideas, and they extrapolate off of that. So they make a small concept, they see what they like about it, and then they start expanding on it like crazy. And I feel like you do something similar with the way how you handle new mediums.
Yeah, no, very similar. That's why this like little mini RPG thing, as is, it's like 99% done. All the main story beats are there, and then, like you said, I move on, because you have to move on to other projects eventually, and then they're even ideally better, or at least more polished as you go on.
But that's always
And
a
so,
difficult bit, yeah. Just figuring out when you can call something done.
Yeah, because the Blue Rivers comic, I was expecting to be done by this year. Who knew it would take 3 to 4 years of my career to do, even on the back burner. And it looks like I might be able to wrap it up sometime next year, but that
The
that
entire
release date keeps slipping, man. And that release date keeps slipping.
wait, the entirety of Blue Rivers, you feel like you're close to calling
Nah,
it finished or not?
give me 10 to 20 more updates, somewhere in that range. And again, I don't really want to stretch this out for more than a year plus, but I think I'm going to be able to do it. I don't think there's going to be a no, I don't really know what to say, I guess, besides that. The story as is, I'm sure I can conclude it. There's not much left to explore in their
Oh, okay, I
universe for
got
that
it.
theme, I would say. Oh no, I'm not gonna like, and this is spoilers. I don't plan to just do like a really anticlimactic, then everyone dies or something stupid like that. That would suck. No, there's actually gonna be a sort of conclusion payoff.
Okay. No,
It doesn't resort to something
that's
so
always
cheap.
fun. That's me as a fan, just like, going in being like, oh,
Yeah, everyone has the same reaction, and I'm happy it's they want more, I guess. Yeah.
yeah.
So I try my best not to sound ungrateful for it when I keep saying those words over and over of like I want to move on to a project. It's not that I hate Blue Rivers, it's that I'm just so extremely excited to see what else I can do, what else I can make for people to enjoy,
What
and
about
how else I can start making some more cash dollars to spend on frivolous things.
That's the goal. Trying to do the best you can to make this like workable. But when it comes to working on projects, do you usually have multiple projects that you're working on at the same time, or do you focus on one in particular and then start the next one?
I usually have multiple, and it's a bad mistake. I keep telling myself not to do it, and then I do it. It's an uncontrollable facet, I think, of my personality at this point. But I would like to think I know when to cut off projects in production when they don't seem to be doing much. I really hate it when I have to do with the things I released publicly, like the Pane Historia comic. I'm pretty much just stopped updating because it's like I did a really bad premise and there's not much I can do with it. So I basically just reset the entire story for the game pretty much, and I'm okay with that. But it sucks to do it, the things that you already started releasing parts of. But there's been plenty of projects I have, even in, like, my Google Drive is probably full of like 50 half-baked ideas where as you start writing it out and stuff, you're like, this doesn't work.
Right.
And that's okay. But a lot of the elements from those old things will go into new things because I knew I always want to do something in sci-fi eventually, somewhere down the line. And every idea I come up with, it doesn't really work, but there's parts of it I can take, faction names, or even just little arc ideas for a plot.
The idea of just restarting things is always daunting. It's always a little bit not hurtful. Hurtful is not the word, but it's just
At the end of the day, no one wants to disappoint anyone, especially in order to suit their fans.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was trying to go for. Multiple projects at once is, I think it's the curse of anybody with any ambition. That I can do one thing forever, but eventually you're gonna get bored. That's what I feel.
This goes, and that's why I also would like to shout out someone else, Chaika Dev, at Chaika Dev _. I'm working with him on a character concepts for an unnamed, yet to be released anime like war game in the style of War No or Red Dragon. But that's also another example of just I'm stretched really thin, honestly, and that was a bad idea of me to do so many things at once. But I'm very thankful for the opportunities, of course. And then also I'm working on the Peripateia game, but that's tagged in my bio. I'm sure people have already known that. Little cartoon icons for the menus. Very heavily inspired by Jusica.
For anybody, oh yeah, I still gotta make like more Jusica comics because I have a lot of ideas.
She's hot. She's very cute.
She's also very malleable for a modern setting too. You could do a lot with her. It's a very iconic type of character and concept that you can do a lot with. But yeah, Chaika Dev, for anybody watching, is on Twitter. Chaika Dev with an _ at the very end. But yeah, you give them a follow, check them out, and enjoy currently working with HIRO for something in the future.
Yes, something in the future, somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
Peripateia is very exciting because they're doing the I forget what it's called, Steam Fest or whatever, but some sort of Steam game spotlight thing. So they're I mean, how do I say that in like a jokingly fun way about people I would generally call my friends or good people. They're very stressed right now. You know, they're crunch timing, making sure everything's proper for the Steam Fest thing.
Yeah.
And that's also something unfortunate about game devs is the inevitable crunch. But I saw a really nice article that was going, I don't remember the headline name, but it was something about like comic creators that went into indie game dev and indie game devs that went into making comics. And the one brutally honest thing that it said about it is that video game devs have crunch time. Obviously, this might go on for months, maybe even half a year or a year. But comic creators relatively are almost living in constant crunch time, is what the article pointed out, with like the work hours of the comic creators in comparison to game devs. It was very sobering, I guess, because it was true.
Because here's the thing, if because I do also code and I do make other things outside of
Oh, well, you're
Just
more advanced than me already, honestly.
just for me, making like an engine, for example, or building something is going to take a long while initially, but once I have like the building blocks set up, then everything starts moving smoothly, and then crunch really happens when I need to really get something out or done in within a time period. Comics is just, you got to do the work.
Yeah,
And
there's no workaround beside like there's no shortcuts unless you're gonna
like
copy and paste to little
I
assets,
uh I
which I have done.
I gotta mention early Control Alt Delete. If you remember,
Yes,
like
that's
Control,
that's what I.
yeah, I
The
got
Buckster.
Tim Buckley, but like old Control Alt Delete had, he was trying to like release comics efficiently as
Yeah,
much as possible, and then he did a lot of he made a lot of assets that he could reuse and poses and everything, and it kind of feels like
very Family Guy.
yeah, and it gave it a very particular look and aesthetic that you can tell it was like somebody trying to save time, and a lot of like copy paste the BU face for anybody that knows. I need
Yeah.
to, okay, I need to put him up on screen for YouTuber people, but like
Oh man, his I no, I was gonna say something. I mean, the picture of him at the convention is very funny. I like it a lot. I'm glad that picture exists. That's all I can
oh
say.
no, not him. I was gonna put Control Alt Delete.
Oh, well, see, even extra, my bad.
Yeah,
Tim Buckley, shout out to you. Because I would like to say I don't hate Tim Buckley.
not at all. But
I find it very brave that he was willing to publish what he did or his behind the scenes process.
oh, apparently there's another Tim Buckley that's just like an American guitarist and singer. So when you ever
And he's gonna be living in his shadow forever of the fantastic Control Art Delete man. Thinking of like comics from that era, man. Of like, there was VG Cats. So I think
oh, VG Cats, yeah, I remember VG Cats.
I'm a niche e-celeb now. I can't just gossip randomly about people, but yeah, just going to comics themselves. Yeah, the VG Cats.
Penny
Renegade
Arcade,
Court
yeah.
was also big back in the
Oh,
day.
Gunner Krigg, yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading that back in the day. I really liked it. I haven't caught up with it like since I was 15 or 16, but I remember liking it a lot. What else is back in that era?
Oh, when you go on first in Control Alt Delete, you don't go back to the very first comic that was made. You get brought back to the first page of the current thing that's he's working on.
There's arcs? I didn't know that. That's
Yeah,
fascinating.
that's interesting. I haven't been on Control Alt Delete for a while. But again, shout out to Gunner Krigg Court. This is also another one of the things that got me.
The author of that actually?
Let me. Gunner Krigg Court.
Tom Siddell. I never would have guessed that name in a million years.
Still going.
But what? Yeah, what other? Oh man, I could just start naming off webcomics that started me on the journey to now all day probably.
Oh, I have 5 years of Gunner Krigg to catch up on.
boy, howdy.
There was a brief hiatus which like pulled me off just for a little bit, but I need to go back to it because it's still going. Gunner Krigg has been around.
You can do a lot with that
long.
premise.
Yeah,
it's like the Harry Potter kind of school thing. Yeah,
ever since 2005, Gunner Krigg Court has been around. Yeah.
Is there like a list of just like web comics from this era that I can recognize? Girl Genius I never read.
There was Boxer Hockey. If you
never
remember,
heard of that one.
The guy who does a lot of the new modern Sonic stuff, Tyson Hess, made Boxer Hockey back in the day. Remember he used to make Sonic comics, like jokey Sonic comics back in the day. He also made Boxer Hockey. I don't think he has a website up for it anymore.
The only jokey Sonic comic I can remember off the top of my head was a really fun one where like his head gets like destroyed by like an arrow or something. That was brutal.
Yes, no, he made that one, yeah. And
Boxer Hockey, made that one?
Yeah.
Oh, that was so funny. I remember it still in my head, clear as day.
Or Tails flying with his arms and twisting his arms around. Yeah, that's the same person, Tyson Hess. And now he's working on Sonic professionally. He did a lot of the character design fixes for the Sonic movie. and
Let's see
everything.
who else was out there.
Uh,
Hark a Vagrant had
Hark
the
of
really
Vagrant.
funny, like, yeah, the really funny Nancy Drew comics she did, like within that comic, were so funny, and they like and genuinely inspired some of Blue River's personality, just like this bizarrely sociopathic like woman.
Hark of Vagrant was
Uh,
great too because it had a lot of just
History jokes. Yeah.
history jokes, and like those are like still some of my favorites of the
Mhm.
time.
That's a great one. Awkward Zombie was like still stands as like one of the most genuinely funny video game comics. Was it Awkward Zombie? Yeah,
Yeah, it was
by
Awkward Zombie.
Katie Tydrich or whatever.
Yeah.
Very talented. She also had her own other webcomic thing going on of like I think like retiring action game stars or whatever. That was also pretty decent. What else was out
There
there?
was
Order of the Spick.
the
That was
punchline. The
okay.
punchline is machismo, or yeah,
Yeah, Machismo.
machismo. That's
Machina.
machina. Yeah, that was also manly guys doing manly things is the like tagline for it.
Yeah, that's the good title.
It was such a fun time to. What
It
else?
was. It felt like everyone was just sparking like lights everywhere, or like the flint with the rock. What did the term go? Spark. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's so much going on. Cucumber Quest. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was
Cucumber
cool as well.
Quest. Had a lot of friends that were very into that. Cucumber Quest is still going on, and it's one of those like pay to read webcomics, but I highly recommend it. It is well
Mhm.
worth the money. Her art is just phenomenal.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely beautiful. She's the only one that can like pull off that look for a comic and still release it like in reasonable time. It's crazy.
Yeah,
Excuse me, I'm burping.
no, you're all good. I highly recommend people to check out Cucumber Quest. It's really good. That era of webcomics is just not around right now, and that's kind of sad.
Yeah,
Cause
it's just not profitable anymore. Not that the people were ever making like money and riches from it, but running your own site to get like advertisement hits, it seemed to did decently well for them,
yeah,
or at least they could survive off it. Now that the era's kind of moved on to whatever chump change that a site will give you
I had a
without
web
naming names.
yeah. The way how I learned about webcomics, well, not webcomics, but making webcomics, is I had a professor in college, Meredith Gran. She made Octopus Pie. For anybody,
I'll have to look that one up.
that was also like of that era of webcomics, and she gave me great advice actually back in the day, where it's just like if you can make like 100 loyal followers, like true fans, then you don't need any more than that. She was like that.
Their cash registers for like little cha-ching, cha-ching.
But she was like, if you can have 100 true fans, it's better than like 100,000 like people reading your stuff daily from like ad revenue or whatever. I got to be careful with what I share in her comic because I forget like it's not.
Yeah, I just I pulled up the. I was just about to mention. Yeah, that was very. I get the metaphor. I'm seeing the ending of the the page at the beginning.
Yeah. It's yeah, I gotta be careful. But yeah. Meredith Gran is she was a wonderful professor. She taught me everything that I know about making a webcomic and running a webcomic site and everything, and I'm trying to teach everyone else how to do that too. Because I don't want the art form to die, because it's still like, valid to learn.
It's I was just about to say that too with like moving into game deving, if that takes off, that my experience in making comics has helped me dramatically in being able to write for it. Because a lot of people that do like exclusively literature or like exclusively only writing with no visuals, they'll write like an RPG and then it's my God, man, you're reading like the worst, longest thing ever. Your eyes start bleeding of like, did I just spend 10 minutes reading about this random village that has nothing interesting going on actually?
Yeah, no,
They just don't know how to cut things for pacing, but comic people do, as long as you're not a victim of the words phenomenon.
I try and avoid words as much as possible, but then at some
As
point,
long as you're aware of it,
yeah,
it works.
yeah.
That's really the key.
My
But
thing
yeah,
is, I try and avoid exposition at any time, at any point possible. But then I start to be like, oh wait, what if you're an actual audience member and you need an explanation for something,
Exactly.
and I have to make a concession at that point, because ideally I don't want to explain anything ever. I just want things to happen, but that's not how stories work.
I know exactly what you mean, and you saw it even in the intro with the little game you're playing right now.
Yeah.
That I had to somewhat establish the world, and I tried to keep it as short as possible. But I think people get the picture that it's this you're this guy in an empire, far future. Boom, that's all you need.
Yeah. And no, I do agree that trying to tell a story, you need to practice in a medium of, telling stories, and especially mediums where you need to practice making concessions. And I wouldn't have thought about making games if it wasn't for doing a comic or
Yes.
trying
Almost all the jokes and the gags I've written in the game are paced exactly like a comic, but now I also have the benefit of using music and sound effects, which I'm very thankful for.
Oh yeah, it's like you have a new superpower added.
Yes.
And it's
I was able to pace a joke even better with the little teaser I put on my Twitter with the farmer, where it's like the music just cuts out and then it boots back up, and it's like I can't do that in a comic. Maybe visually with like the background going black to like white all of a sudden, but there's a whole nother layer, with sound for jokes and drama.
That's actually what I'm currently doing with my own webcomic, Boxcar City Rush, for anybody listening.
You're making a playlist for it, right?
Yeah. Whenever you go on a new page in the comic currently, there's a little song that plays that you can choose to play or not. Sometimes it auto plays when you're looking at old pages, but not on the front page, not when you're just booting up the website. But it gives just a little bit more atmosphere that it otherwise wouldn't have.
Mm-hmm.
Also, what I like about webcomics is I could put alt text in the webcomic.
Yeah, you love hiding little Easter eggs there.
Yeah, I have entire like bonus narratives and foreshadowing happening within the alt text of the comic, and it's not for everybody to experience. It's for people who just like suddenly are on desktop, hover over an image with their mouse, and they see like this.
It's true. It's for true blue bloods, not for those dirty peasants with the print edition of which I also display very proudly in my living room. I should add.
Oh yeah,
I always love showing it to people.
Yeah, for anybody listening to, HIRO also designed an alternate cover for Boxcar City, my comic, whenever I made the physical edition print for it, and I love that. I still have both that and the other one because not Zero Tonfa, yeah, because I still have your name.
My evil clone, my evil twin.
No, it's Z1. Okay, because his name is
I got strap in for this one. I got you.
Okay. Z1R0, and then help me out. I have it in the very back of that comic. I need to pull it up right now. Hold up.
He's named like a submarine model.
Pulling out my comic right now to see the credits at the very end of it. Okay. ZA1F0N. Xiphon. Okay.
Is that 0 spelled out or just a number?
Just a number. At Xiphon. I'm sorry for forgetting your name. Real fast. Xiphon is actually a really good artist. I know his real name. I'm not going to put it up right now. But he is phenomenal, and I also like his other variant cover that he's done for an Illustrated. He's also thinking about making comics too. So I can't wait for him to actually start releasing and working on it. But yeah, I mean, when making a comic, my whole thing was I just want other comic artists to like do variant covers too, so people can discover each other.
Little shout out, visual form. Well, because it's even better than a shout out. It lets the person actually show off their own individual skill.
Yeah, and that's what I like. And I'm thinking about other artists in the future for other volumes.
Thank you very much.
Different things. I think you're the one that looked at that. You get the entire book, because I think in the future I'm just going to be doing sleeves.
Ooh, very
but
fancy.
where people can just interchange the sleeves if they want to. Because printing out unique copies just
It's
for
work.
one cover was who boy. It was not the
You learned
most.
a lot about the process,
Yeah,
yeah, from DMs together every now.
yeah. It's I learned what I'm not gonna do next time, and
That's
I'm
good.
but I'm happy with how everything turned out anyways, and I'm glad that people got these specific unique versions of things. If you ever need like any help for, I'm just talking to you like personally right now. If you need any help like with any physical release type thing, just let me know and I will give you all the advice I have for it.
Oh, thank you very much.
I might do a general thing in the future for everybody, just as general tips and advice, and like not a tutorial, but here's what you should do when you're releasing physically. Here's how you crowdfund. Here's how you handle shipping, because shipping was a nightmare. Oh man.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can't even imagine the headaches of even when everything goes right, like you're still gonna get like people that just didn't receive the thing, and it's like all the guilt, the headache, the work, the money.
I've done
Yeah.
that multiple times where people didn't get their book and I needed to just do it again and ship it over again. And it's worse when it's overseas. But I also don't want people to be like, hey, I paid for this, I didn't get it. Because that makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
But oh, do you have any plans for any comics to release physically in the future?
That's the thing, right? Everyone always says that about Blue Rivers, but not only are like uh some of a lot of the early like project files are missing. It's just like the PNGs I have left, which is a very bad thing. But it's also like it's it's a bit messy of a comic that it's be very hard to do a print run of. There's so many competing formats and color schemes and everything like that. So I genuinely don't know. I was always leaning kind of like no with it because it kind of is a product of the internet almost, that it kind of belongs in there. But I mean, we'll see one day. I might like hire someone honestly just to process it or something into a print run when I have some money. Right now, I'm a little goofy.
I can understand that. It's but I do you do pay some like pages though whenever I see them on webtoons. And they
I
are
do pay
structured
what?
like you paste them like pages.
Oh yes, yes,
Because there is the big vertical scroll, but you also have
yeah.
the individual just here's this section where you flip
And I
to.
always thought with like the vertical scroll one frame thing of like you might as well have just done like a visual novel at this point. At least I've
Uh,
never really been a fan of the vertical scrolling format.
it's for people that are on their phones reading comics, and that's not a bad thing because I read a
No.
lot of manga that way too, and
Mhm.
some comics, not all comics, but I will usually prefer anything that simulates a page flip. Because how do you do that with like webtoons? Remember that old horror Korean comic where you scroll down and there's this girl walking by, and then like the scroll lock gets taken away from you,
Oh,
and it's
it's
just
terrifying. I never knew about that. That sounds horrifying.
yeah, and it's just like this like creature's head turning. It was like in the webtoons. I need to find that out. I need to share it with you. Well, you already know what it's gonna be, so like you know what.
Yeah, yeah, but no, it sounds fucking terrifying.
Korean scroll comic, creepy
Ooh,
skull
got little
comic.
chills down my back of my neck there.
Yeah,
Speaking
it's
of a good horror.
and it makes that's a good web comic. You know, webtoons should do that.
Yes. They should let people keylog their readers as well.
I'm gonna send it to you personally, and I'm gonna put it on screen right now for anybody watching. If you are prone to getting scared, close your eyes. That's what I have to say for anybody up on YouTube. For anyone on Newgrounds listening in right now, check out Bongchon Dong Ghost, uh, English version.
I don't know how to pronounce it either. I'm just laughing. I'm sorry.
No,
Maybe I should also throw my two cents. Bonchong Dongos. Yeah.
just search Dong Ghost horror comic.
Ghost Big Dong comic.
I'm curious to see what people see, but yeah. Warning: this webtoon is a special horror episode for this summer season. But yeah, it's this girl walking down a path. She sees this dark looming figure going there, and then like she start walking towards it, and then like you start scrolling down. Oh no! Ah, damn it! It doesn't do the auto scroll anymore.
What?
Ah, that's annoying because
People probably complained or something. Yeah.
no,
Like it wrecked their computer or some shit.
no. I need to find it. Dong Ghost horror comic. Need to find it. Chiller. Okay, I think it's on Webtoons. I don't know if it. Nah, never mind. It doesn't do the auto scroll anymore. That's upsetting. But yeah, I'm sorry, everybody. I was trying to show everybody what it was, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, this is like old internet type stuff where people were just messing around with like what you can do with HTML, and they use it for horror in the best way possible. It was a jump scare comic. It was the first time I've read a comic that actually jump scared me.
There was like another really well done horror section in Prequel, The Adventure, the thing with the Khajiit cat from the Elder Scrolls, Katia Monaghan or whatever her name was.
Yes.
But there was a section there when she was having like her nightmare about like some scary like king or whatever, and that was also kind of the similar thing of like you scroll down, it's like boom, it's just there. But that one was also like partly animated in the GIF format,
which adds
so
to
it
it.
had
Yeah.
an advantage. Yeah.
Originally, what I was doing with my webcomic is I wanted it to be where you click on the page and it loads up each panel, and like a small GIF plays of the panel.
Like TF2 comics, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, you just remind me how great those things are.
Oh,
I should reread them for inspiration.
You know what? I need to reread the TF2 comics too. Those things I'm still waiting for the next update for them.
Yeah. Well, at least the story's like generally concluded now. I was like pleasantly surprised when I reread it, like catching up like a year ago or something, or 2 years ago.
It's
big fight's over at least.
It's really, really funny. It's some of the most well written comics ever.
You can't see it, but I'm nodding right now. Yeah, of just it's that and like the Venture Brothers, which are probably the biggest influence on my comedy writing in general. Yeah, with like everything I do.
Oh, Venture Brothers was phenomenal. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but TF2 comics, like after this, I'm gonna like download a zip file of all of them just to like have them on hand as like a reference for the future.
But yeah, they have been phenomenal. They make me laugh every time. The writing is just top notch. It's very clear, and I like the way how it's presented too. How you go through the comic itself, because like it gives it anticipation, if that makes any sense, from panel to panel.
Yeah. There's some things too which they literally couldn't do in print, which is sad. But like there'll be like a panel, and then like something will change in the panel when you press spacebar, and then it will move on to like the next page, and it's like, man, you can't really do that in print without like cropping out the inner panels or something like that.
Yeah,
it uses its medium well.
Yeah,
online.
That's why I like webcomics, and I do want to experiment more with my webcomic itself. But then that means I also have to learn how to do unique things with HTML, and that's a little daunting.
I feel like it's probably just so. For example, we'll imagine there's a page where it has to do that, and like one panel has to change. I think it's just two separate PNGs, and when you press spacebar, it just loads the next PNG, which has more panels loaded into it. I assume that's how it works.
So the thing is, if an image is not already on the actual layout of the site, like preloaded in,
you'll see the buffering, and it ruins the smoothness. I see. And it should be loading the two of them together on the same page.
So the original,
press the button, like visualizes.
The original thing back in 2016 when I was working on the webcomic is I had Flash, and Flash solved all my problems for doing that. You can just build like a Flash like Macromedia Flash Shockwave file,
Mm-hmm.
put it on your browser, and then you're set. And then you can just have it coded with ActionScript, which is something that I know how to work with.
Boy, I still remember the first Flash animation I ever made when I was like 8. It was like a guy falling off it was like a skateboarder falling off like a half pipe and just exploding. That was it.
I made some
But
I made some really cringe things when I was like in middle school, and I didn't even have a tablet or anything. I just had my mouse, so I was just doing a bunch of like hand drawn stick figure
yeah,
animations. Not even
I
like
was just saying,
pivot stick animations, but just hand drawn
yeah.
sticks with the mouse and trackpad.
I tried messing around with Pivot for a bit too, but I didn't have the patience for it as my brain was still developing. I guess it still is, but it was even more raw back then.
And no, it's fun, and I like Flash right now. I haven't shouted out Newgrounds at all this whole episode, and I'm just surprised. Okay, so Newgrounds has a comic feature. Well, it has a feature that helps comics out a lot more right now. Gallery formats. So whenever you're
Mhm.
uploading things right now in Newgrounds, you have a way to put multiple images and upload them at the same time and have them all retain the same image quality because Newgrounds didn't have this before. Newgrounds before you would put one image as your main image and then on in the body message of the upload, you'd put any other variation of the image, but it would not be as high quality as the original image. But now you can do multiple images up to 30 if you're subscribed to Newgrounds. I think if you're not subscribed to Newgrounds, you can upload 20 images at once, which is still good. You can still do a lot for it.
Yeah, no, that's more than ever using a single update of Blue Rivers.
Yeah. And what you can do now is you can have a specific format for your multiple image uploads. You can have them either be like a vertical scroll, like how you do it in Webtoons. You can upload all your images vertically. You can have a click and load, so you can load one image, and then if people want to see the next page of something or the next image, you can just click next, and you can move forward through the comic like a flip of a comic book or something like that. And there's another one where it's a gallery mode where you have a bunch of different thumbnails for the different images of your upload. But that's better for what's the word? If you're setting up a portfolio or like a small little mini gallery.
Hmm.
But it's really good for comics right now. And Newgrounds currently has, for anybody listening, a comics contest called, and it'll end on December 12th, 2023. It's called the Sweet 16 Comic Contest. And if you tag, you have to make 16 pages of a comic. And you need to tag it Sweet 16 Comics. And the rules of the contest is just upload 16 pages of a story. Do your best to tell a complete story within that time period or within that page limit. And even if you don't, it needs to be minimum 16 pages. If you go over 16 pages, only the first 16 pages will be judged. And everything else that comes afterwards will be ignored. And you can do 15 pages, and your first page can be a cover page to fill out the 16 page limit. And I highly recommend trying to do this contest for anybody listening. You have the chance to win currently $500 for first place. And then second place and third place is going to have like a range of like 300 to 200 to 100. And
Very exciting.
Yeah, it's
16 pages is quite a bit to tell you're able to tell a story now. I know some people will be like a little hesitant, but I made like one Napoleon shitpost comic that was only a single page long, and that one was complete. That was one with the anime girl at the absolute end of it.
Oh
You've seen
that one.
it.
Wait, I need to find that right now. I need to put it up.
Let me see. If I look up HIROTONFA Napoleon, I'm pretty sure I posted the original, and then like in the comments someone posts like the other version. as well. I gotta find. Where is the meme version?
If you find it, just send it to me.
Yeah, I guess I'll just send it to you.
Cause I have to scroll through all of it right now, and I'm just. It's a wait. I think it's on Newgrounds.
It might be. I found like the non-meme one, which I'm also very proud of. It's very pretty. That's a non-meme one, but I can send definitely the. Where's the funny one?
I'm trying to find it right now.
I got it. It has my old signature on it, McGlinsky, but there it is.
Yes, yes, this one.
Man, I got worse with composition over time. This is phenomenal.
Sometimes that happens. I feel you. Napoleon Bonaparte's journal, The Soldier's Dog.
This was a real journal entry, and I love it a lot. I
Yeah.
feel a little bad for doing this, but
No, this was a really good one. McGlinsky.
So-
Oh, I remember that handle. Yeah.
yeah, that was my old handle, which I got some flack for that. I remember a little bit.
No, that's really funny. But yeah. And the
People thought I was like stolen valoring the Irish, but if they ever looked at the full name, I used Tochumba Biglinski on like my old YouTube channels and stuff, and all my old accounts online. And the whole point of that was like it was a schizo name. You know, Tochumba is like some vague Pacific Islander sounding thing. Biglinski is some vague Scottish Irish thing, and that was the whole point of just complete opposite ends of the globe. So I apologize to all Irish people, of course, for any wrong ideas with that.
the Irish famous for not being able to take a joke. No.
And I apologize to the random Polynesian tribe that might have the name Tachumba in it somewhere.
No, but yeah, it's funny thinking about like creating a handle or a pseudonym, and then at the end of the day, just going with your name.
Yeah. You had the same thing as well.
Yeah, I went by my name for the longest time though, but before that, what was I called online? Kaiser. Yeah, is
Kaiser.
Kaiser.
The Latin way.
Yeah,
Very fancy.
I don't know why I was such a big fan of that for a while, but it made me very happy at the time. And then I was like, this is kind of dumb. I'm not.
It's a good name, but everyone like uses it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's like at least 3 separate like YouTube channels I could search bar, and they're like all Kaiser related usernames.
No, it's very. And then at some point I was just like, it's just easier if it's my name.
Yeah.
At least I don't have a name like John, where it's like you can find 8 million other Johns.
Yeah. No, there was also a very controversial.
Oh my god.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah.
segue.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be avoiding. I'm just gonna be avoiding any mention or any talk of it. But yeah, before we move on to the viewer questions, we're gonna be again. You can follow Hiro on Patreon to get quick sneak peek access to different things.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting model that maybe we could bring up, even just to comment on a little bit of just
Patreon in general, or
yeah, just my model of like I do early access releases, right, for almost all my projects, and I release it to the public a week later because I notice a lot of comics that like paywall a lot of the things permanently. Not only does it eventually leak, of course it is, but it also just seems to cut down a lot on general readership and exposure. So I never found that model sort of workable for me, at least. I know some people can definitely pull it off, but yeah,
yeah,
the early access model. That's what I do.
I also do the early access model with my comic, and as soon as I get a page done, I just put it up on my Patreon, and I also have a Patreon Discord. Do you have a Patreon Discord yourself?
No, I used to have like more than a few Discord servers actually. Some just IRL friends, some like fan servers and stuff. But I always got a little too into them, I guess, of like just spending too much time like socializing. I feel like as a creator, I work best, I guess, with a little more distance. That's all, nothing personal.
Yeah.
from
No,
fans and shit.
I
I
tend
shouldn't say shit.
no, I like no, you're good. You don't even have to worry about it. I don't care if YouTube ever monetizes or demonetizes me.
No, I meant just associating my
Oh, oh,
my
oh, oh.
fans anywhere near that word.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
mean anything by it. It's just how I end sentences. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry, then,
I
bro.
feel you. Yeah, no. It's tough when you have some slang that you have to try and cut off just because you know that people are not used to it. And I have to it's like I'm stepping on eggshells every time. But
Yeah, especially on the. I sometimes like refer to myself as like the term China, and then somewhere along the lines the prefix will be man, and it's like I don't mind. It's just funny to me, and it's like even as a term, it just makes sense. Honestly, I don't know why it got derogatory over time. We say Frenchmen and Englishmen all the time, but
yeah.
anyways, yeah, I just will casually just say that, and then sometimes I'll forget where I'm using personality A with like group B, and then they go,
Yeah.
it's
No,
like that.
that
Just funny.
happens. That happens very often. But yeah, if you want to support Hero and Hero's work, again, check out the Patreon, HIROTONFA, no space, and it's
No
right there.
space.
And do support him. I highly recommend you get Blue River's content and other content ahead of time.
Yeah, I released the beta tests of the Ponte game even on Patreon, and we'll see about
Yeah,
doing that, continuing that sort of stuff in the future.
I've been playing it in the background, and I haven't been paying attention too much, and now I'm stuck for moving
That's all
forward.
right.
But yeah,
Where'd you make it to,
I
without spoiling too much?
I made it to the first town, and I'm missing a passport.
Ah, okay. Well, that's all right. There's a few things to do there. Yeah, if you just wander around like the west side of town, you'll find some more
Yeah,
things to do, people to meet.
that's where I've been at in the comic right now. I mean, I was laughing at a few jokes to myself, and I was making sure to not bring them up because, like, again, there are people that are just listening to this right now live, and they wouldn't understand the nonsense
Yeah.
posting that I'm making. Yeah,
Well, they'll be able to experience for themselves very soon too,
yeah.
or whatever. I'm sure Markiplier will feature this this game next week or something.
Markiplier, please. This
Yeah.
is new indie game with jokes.
I start begging him and poking him like that Hello Neighbor did with very cringily with game theory.
Just throw in a random jump scare, and like you'll get all the horror YouTubers on there.
Purple guy.
Purple guy theorizing.
I genuinely love Markiplier. He's so fucking
No. Same. I'm just poking fun at like
yeah, no. It's just I always have to say it for like the audience because no offense, of course, to the audience, but some people just they'll misread like playful poking for like genuine hatred just because that's how people are tuned nowadays.
yeah. I was talking about it with Palo last time too. It's just like people take things a bit too seriously, but it's all
Yeah,
fine.
that's that section even on like his trip in like Waffle House or something.
Oh
And just like being unable to like read like the room or anything, but like honestly, it works out. Who cares? It's just like a random comment from some like old lady. It's everyone moves on.
yeah. But
It's fine.
oh, and also I need to mention this before I move on to listener question. How was it like? Because you moved to Italy, I know that you.
Hmm.
How's the transition from going to a Western, like proclivity society to like? I mean, Italy's still technically considered Western,
Hmm.
but it's a different.
It's a very unique blend of Western. Yeah,
yeah.
I almost call it like culturally, it feels like living sometimes in that blend of America and a blend of like any random Latin American country in very fun ways for
Yeah,
the most part.
because
And
I have a lot of family in Italy, and
mhm.
I've been a bunch, and I do like Italy. It has a very particular, like, it's a very European feeling.
Yes, I'm very lucky in that my entire life I grew up in a very let's not use that word. I grew up in a very Italian American town, so I have a lot of Italian American friends. Some even with direct family still in like various regions, especially in Calabria. Though I'm not in Calabria, and I guess I've always just been a fan of hanging out almost exclusively with Italian Americans. Most of my hometown friends are so, and obviously Italy is very different from that, but there's still obviously a lot of traces of growing up in my hometown culture that I feel here. That's very nice. The hospitality is very good. The long meal times very relaxed and nice.
Yeah.
But I mean, the main there's a lot of reasons I guess I'm over in Italy, and I guess the most obvious one, even though I really do like living here and I think I do plan to build my future here, is in terms of like the artist's income, proving getting the minimum income for a green card in America for me and my wife Magna is it's much more difficult than getting the minimum income to live in Italy, which is what we were able to achieve for the official immigration process.
Oh, interesting. Okay, because I'm not too familiar with the immigration policies within Italy.
Yeah, I mean it goes by general EU rules, and I don't want to bore people with the bureaucratic procedures, but
Yeah.
essentially it's a little easier coming from America to Italy than it is from Italy to America, and that's kind of the main cut and jib, I guess, financially. But culturally, there's a lot of things here too that are very sweet and nice, and everyone's been very, very kind to me.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Italy's very rich and dense in just general culture. And what I like about like
yes.
just Europe in general is Europe has castles everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, if you're any sort of fan of history, and I know you are, and to people in the audience, yeah, just it's insane. You'll see in like everyone's house, or like even just walking around, that like people will show like a little vase piece that they found in like the when they're doing their hikes along like just randomly in like the hills nearby or the forest nearby. And it's a little vase piece like a broken, and you go, like, oh, what's that? And they go, like, oh, this was like identified to be like a 3,000-year-old like Greek like pottery. It was maybe used to
Hmm.
house like some Greek warriors like personal artifacts, and you're like, what the fuck? And they're just used to it. And I don't want to say spoiled, but it's amazing. And, they're very lucky
Yeah,
to have this constant reminder of history around them. It's cool.
it's a really cool in multiple different cities and islands all around like Italy. And not just Italy, Europe in general.
Mhm.
There's just a lot of there's a lot to appreciate, and there's a lot of historic districts in every single town
Yeah.
that make it
Oh, every single time.
very just fun. There's a lot of celebration for the culture and history too, which you don't really get here in the states that much. Like they're very like Philadelphia. Philly has like very particular like historical landmarks, but
Oh
it's
yeah,
usually
the
like
big crack bell.
yeah the Crack Bell, but also just there's also like off of Philly within Pennsylvania. There's a lot of like reenactment, uh,
Hmm.
like Civil War reenactment fields.
Oh, and good old New England, we reenacted the Boston Massacre every so often. That was very fun,
Yeah.
despite how the topic sounds.
But yeah,
uh, but yeah, I want without going off into too much of a tangent, the obvious, I guess, question is also with a culture clash, and that's also something I've been dealing with. I think I'm somewhat, or I hope I come off as somewhat mentally and emotionally stable now. But it's definitely something I keep working through and around, I guess, my identity. Because not only was I an Asian American in America, which is always a fun, weird mess of identity things
yeah,
to just decide on, I guess, as you grow up. And I always resolved myself to be like, okay, well, I'm going to be an American. I'm going to be as proudly American as possible. I'm happy with American, like studying American history, the culture. I'm all in on this, and then all of a sudden, now I'm in Italy, and it's like, whoa, it's an interesting thing to work through, and I guess I'm still in the process of working through of like how proudly American can I still be without being very mean to the new host country that's hosting me for now, and hopefully for the rest of my life we'll see. Hopefully,
oh yeah.
but
I remember feeling similarly when I was visiting Japan because it was the most unlike anything type of society that I've been to.
yes, you want to assimilate for the sake of everyone around you to be well
Comfortable,
behaved
yeah,
in the culture, and you don't want to be ungrateful either, especially. And that's something I've been dealing with. Of like, I still very happily identify as an American, but only to the point that would not infuriate like the people for like I don't want everyone to be construed as like a refusal to assimilate because sto imparando italiano, parlo un po', ma it's difficile.
Yeah, I
I'm
get
trying
you.
my best. It's always tricky, and especially of like, what am I, and what am I going to be in 10 years, 20 years, culturally, nationally, all that jazz.
Yeah. No, I feel the longer you spend in an area, the more you start to assimilate more. And Italians are very friendly for the most part.
Yes,
For the most part. And
as long as you don't put the wrong toppings on, yeah, the joke goes.
yeah, no, Italians are especially like if you're not native to Italy. Well, okay. A lot of asterisks here. If you're from some Balkan state, Italians will give you shit always.
Oh,
But
I can imagine you're mostly Albanian, right? Second generation. You
yeah,
mentioned?
first
Yeah.
gen. Well, no, I was born.
First gen.
I was born in the country. I moved out when I was like 7.
I did the same thing from Thailand. No, that's a whole mess. We can get that
Yeah,
into if like the night's slow as a fun topic, but
yeah,
yeah, I came to America from Thailand at like age 3 or 4, somewhere in that range.
and it's kind of funny how like Italy just like oh hey, if you're from someplace else, oh you're cool, chill, like you're interesting. It's that type of idea. But if you're just like, oh hey, you're just like this Albanian dude, it's just like, oh, you're here to take our jobs, you fucking guy.
There's
Yeah,
the like without getting like too depressing or whatever, there was like this kind of it's like people say about Japan, and you just kind of have to respect it because that's just how they want to run their society. But you will always be an outsider, and that's
Yeah.
the craziest thing about these societies. Like even if you look the same, like ethnically, genetically, whatever, there's still that moment where they go like, "Oh, I see." And even in this town, there's descendants of Albanian refugees from like the '90s sort of Yugoslavian wars,
yeah.
and everyone still calls them the Albanians. They live over there in that house, and we just
Mhm.
call them the Albanians. And it's like, do you know their names or whatever? It's like, no, they're just the Albanians. Most of them went back after the war stopped, but despite their son, going to like school and everything, he looks Italian, everything like that. You can't tell them from like a glance at the general populace. He speaks full uh, town accent, town dialect, and everything, but he's still referred to as like, oh, the Albanian kid. But
Yeah.
it all depends on the culture to how much of a deal that is. In America, it's always such a mess right now of how to deal with it. But for the most part, most people were able to deal with that in history and able to get on by, as evidenced also by another anecdote. And this happens in every country and civilization in the world. But there's some people you'll find with the last name Tedeschi in Italian, which literally means the German, which means like, oh, these people descended from like 1500s, like people that moved from Germany or whatever, and everyone just called them, who are they? It's like, I don't know, they're the Germans.
Yeah,
It's Puerto Rico German. But after 500 years, I mean, hopefully, as if you're aspiring to be very well suited, it doesn't take you 500 years of lineage. But, they're accepted pretty much as Italian despite their surname. You just have to, it's part of the process, I guess.
Yeah. But that's exactly essentially everything that I wanted to like discuss proper. I don't want to take too much time because like am running it a little long, but we're going to move on to the listener questions
Sure.
right now.
I should add, just for one last anecdote, that the Albanian kid, he wears a full hoodie with the Albanian flag. That's how you identify.
My people are very proud people.
Oh, it's very fun.
And you cannot mistake an Albanian ever.
Yeah, but he has a lot of friends around town. He's like perfectly well put together. It's a very you notice it for sure.
Yeah.
The flag.
Okay.
Very pretty flag.
On to the listener question section. First one is your wife asks you, what do you want for dinner? He always goes, oh, I don't know. When I ask him. That's pretty funny.
See, I have to add to answer that, and I mean, she's right next to me, but she's playing Overwatch with headphones. That's just a normal American kind of what's the official term for like when you end a sentence with like or whatever. you kind of just say it as American, like, "Oh, I don't know," and then immediately you say what you're actually thinking, and it's
Filler
not really
words,
something
yeah.
present in Italian. Yeah. So even if someone says, "Oh, I don't know," immediately, almost like an American will answer what they're thinking, and I always do that. I will say, "Oh, I don't know," and then it's like, "Oh, well, we had chicken for lunch, so I guess not that," and then kind of narrow it down from there in my head. Just a little variety.
Do you guys plan meals based off of like major proteins or that?
Yeah, I guess we mostly build it around like what meat and what kind of pasta we want to do for the day, and especially whatever's in season
Ooh, yeah.
for the local
Oh,
stuff.
oh, you guys are eating like natural
I'm very
like
spoiled. I'm
European.
extremely spoiled.
No, it's not just like even like you're in Italy, you're in Europe. You're in specifically the more like the middle ground, almost Mediterranean Europe, essentially,
Yeah, the Mediterranean culture.
where it's just food quality is just really good.
They have
Man,
it so good.
that's the one thing I miss about living in Europe is just the food is just always good quality. Cause here is just like, man, I eat tasty food, don't get me wrong, but you can definitely tell like it's better quality when you're overseas over there traveling Europe.
Oh yeah, well, you're a New Yorker, right? It's always costs a little more, I presume.
Oh no, I'm not even talking about the prices. Don't even get me started. I can eat and live like a king in Albania if I wanted to. But New York is just something else. All right. But what were we planning for dinner?
What did I have for dinner?
Yeah.
We had like spicy ramen soup or whatever. As much as I was talking about pasta, we
Oh hell yeah.
just for fun sometimes we'll order like some Asian ingredients to try to whip up something. It's never anything Thai, I should say, because it's very hard to get the ingredients here. But usually something Japanese or Korean. Yeah,
Are you guys
very
buying Asian
fun.
market yourselves or?
No, we order online,
Oh,
and
interesting.
I guess I don't want to shout out the site because it's not really an obscure thing, and I don't know their quality relative to other companies. But yeah,
I
we just
got
get
you.
the ingredients shipped to us.
And that question was asked by Magna Galena for anybody listening
Yeah, I'm a
on
bit
Twitter.
familiar with her.
Magna's work is phenomenal. Just to give a shout out there. And I've been a big fan also for a long time. It's kind of wild that like two of like my favorite like history artists that I like was watching online for the longest time just wound up being together, and I'm like, whoa,
Yeah, I couldn't have predicted it either just 3 years ago.
yeah,
Life moves very unpredictably, very fast
yeah.
sometimes.
Next up is YoGB at YoGB_mate on Twitter asks, "What's the worst comic you've ever read?"
The
And then
worst comic I ever read. Crossed. It's just edgy for the sake of edgy. It doesn't have anything to say.
okay, I know what you're talking about. Anything that you could say that's more like
Shock
let's
value.
yeah. So shock value just in general is, I mean, it's cheap for a lot of. I'm trying to think about what I'm remember. Oh, I can't even pin this down. I've read so much schlock, like really bad, and I'm not gonna like try and bring down indie people at all. I'm gonna put
Of
it to
course,
mostly
yeah.
just anything that was
The big
published.
heavy hitters.
Yeah. Ooh. Well, what was a comic run that got me really upset? I'm trying to think.
While you're thinking about that, I'll also name something positive just for a spin of like I've been reading. What was the barbarian thing I was reading? It was like this really funny comedy barbarian comic by Sergio Barbarian comic. Gru. Yeah,
Oh,
Gru the Wanderer. I really like it a lot. It's very fun. The art and the storyteller.
Gru the Wanderer
Big
is
inspiration for
phenomenal. Yeah.
Fonzie.
A lot of that era of well, where did it come from? Sergio.
Sergio was I think he was an immigrant from Mexico at like age 18 or something. Then he got hired by Marvel. Yeah, and this is also something of like obviously Marvel gets a lot of flack and stuff, and even I've kind of named just big publishing industry in general for not publishing creative works, but they try sometimes. They genuinely do. Like with Gru the Wanderer, it was literally just Sergio pitching like this funny little fantasy comedy thing, and they said instantly they were like, "Oh hell yeah, we'll publish it." They are looking for new stuff. At least back in the 70s and 80s, they were.
Oh, that period of comics is just very interesting, and
Very fun.
even earlier. Like, do you remember the Asterix comics?
Yes. Oh, you can't walk away from them in Europe. They're huge.
Oh,
they're
in Europe,
massive.
yeah, they're everywhere.
It's the peanuts of here. Everyone just knows it.
Italian.
I also wasn't expecting anime to be so popular here. Everyone knows Lupin. Like even like the boomers like fondly remember Lupin.
Oh,
that's fun.
Yeah, Lupin is just in Europe is just legendary. That's stuff that I grew up with essentially, and then like coming to the States and then having stuff that hey, this is all the cartoons and stuff that I've watched when I was a kid, but I can't really talk about it with the kids here because they don't know. Or like being in Europe, you were ahead on Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z than the Americans, and that was always funny.
There's a lot more like casual weebery in Europe that's really cool, and
especially Italy.
Yeah, I mean, the second you make any like half European, half Japanese protagonist in like a manga or something, instantly they appreciate it. Like all the Europeans fucking love it because I think Lupin's like a descendant of R.C. Lupin and some Japanese guy.
Yeah.
JoJo Part 5 also had that whole thing going on.
Oh, JoJo's was like huge in Europe even before Part 5.
Oh yeah.
There's also I remember growing up watching the Italian dub of Fist of the North Star with Kenshiro and Hokuto no Ken for anybody listening if you want to catch it. It's just Europe was very pro anime for a long time, and they still are, especially nowadays when it's more popular.
Oh yeah, it's only getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, but Italy has a huge comic scene and culture that I appreciate a lot. Oh, I forgot to turn off your game to show off Asterisk and Gru. Hold up.
It's alright.
But yeah. No, here's Asterisk and here's Gru the Wanderer. I'd rather be talking about things that I like than things I dislike.
That's why I like named a positive spin on it after very clearly saying what I disliked.
All right, I hope that answers YoGB's question. Next up is Pastel Fire at Frailbulb on Twitter asks, how's y'all's day going? And what's Tonfa's favorite and least favorite food?
Oh, that's it. My favorite food ever is probably a well done carbonara. It's hard to screw up, and it always tastes good coming out. My least favorite food, man, I guess almost anything bitter. As childish as that sounds, if like the main taste of the dish is supposed to be bitter, I'm always gonna be a little.
I don't think most dishes are bitter though. I think maybe you get them from fruits.
Some they do try, especially if you keep the roots of like the plants. And it's a very local like veggie dish. You will taste the bitterness.
How do you feel about ginger?
Ginger I like, it's always got a fun, bizarre kick to it.
Okay, because ginger tends to be very bitter, but like it has a very
particular... It's got the minty combination with it. Bitter works good with other stuff.
Got it.
I mean, that's kind of the story of every flavor, I guess.
Next up is Great Tree at KCGT on Twitter.
That's the guy that's doing the music for Ponte soon.
Casey asks, how do I draw Blue River?
How do you draw Blue River? How about you have like the screen recording, right? I will describe to you how to do it, and you'll see if you were able to pull it off. There's a good experiment.
Okay, but just off of pure observation. I mean, I've seen a lot of Blue Rivers. I think I can remember. But yeah, let me open up my drawing program.
Sure. Let me know when you're ready for the first step.
DSP, where are you? Hold up. Okay, there it is. Let me open up a new file. And this is like blind drawing. I'm not looking at a reference or anything like that.
Yes, we'll have a drum roll and everything for this.
Yeah. Okay, and let me get this up on screen right now too. Or for anybody watching at the moment. Window capture. Here it is. Okay, ready.
All right, I start with the eyes.
Mhm.
Usually, if it's like not part of the comic, she's like half lidded with like a nice smile, sometimes even a V-shaped smile. Once you get those eyes in with the half lids, and then almost immediately after that, I'll start drawing the hair bangs. Let me know
Okay.
when you're done with the hair bang step, and then you do the side tails, which go down. Uh, and then after you draw the side like hair things around like her, I don't even know if I'm saying the word right, but yeah, the side tails, you connect the bottoms or the midway through of the side tails endings with her to make her chin. And that's how I always drew her face. So it comes a little lopsided sometimes, but I guess it's part of the appeal. And then once you connect her chin, then you make her pigtail outlines, and they're pretty big. They're like the size of her face, each of them. And then once you get the pigtails in, then you just finish off the top of her head, which is a little hard to describe, but
I'm doing this
then after
like
that,
really fast and really kind of shitty.
yeah, that's all right. That's the experiment to see how to draw Blue River. And then after that, you finish up with the freckles, and that's her head.
Freckles, nose.
Oh yeah, the nose too. It's like a little, just a little pointy thing, I guess. Not too pointy, but it's got a kick to it.
This is cringe.
I gotta see this.
Oh no. Okay, people on YouTube are gonna be seeing it right now. Okay, just off a man. I don't remember rivers as well as I do. Oh no. Wait. Okay. I'm gonna draw another one on the bottom, just a little faster.
Was the first one that scary?
I'm gonna save it. It's on screen right now. The first one is still on screen
All
at
right,
the
let
moment.
me go right now to radio.
No, it's not live. Like no one can see this happening right now.
Oh, I see. All right, all
The
right.
radio is actual live radio.
Well, everyone, stay tuned. I'm sure that Jenk will post it to Twitter or something right after the drawing. At least.
I'm
Be a
a
nice
po-
little bonus
they're
package.
both gonna be there. Okay, this one is turning out much better. And like I'm even taking a faster time to it. Okay. And nose. Freckles. I almost forgot the freckles.
Yeah, freckles are always arranged in a upside down triangle, 3 dots each cheek.
Yeah. And I keep forgetting how her ponytails or the twin tails work. But yeah.
They're like, how do they describe them? You take like a moon and you like split it in half and you put it on both sides of her head, except it's like very pointy at the end. Or there's like a 90-degree angle, at least, with them at the end.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you're gonna see the first one and you're gonna see the next one. I'm gonna be screen capping this right now. Oh man. I want you to guess which one I did first and which one I did not do first.
Oh boy.
And it's gonna be easy. It's gonna be an easy. Okay, let me get my snipping tool out and get this one out here. Oh, this is.
Hey. While you're doing that, I'm saying the next question is if you could eat any dinosaur, what would it be? That's a fun one.
Oh yeah, please do.
Now, with that question, I will not be beating like the Asians will eat anything under the sun allegations.
I just sent you
uh,
the.
oh, let me see these drawings. Yeah, I see. One of them is like a bug praying mantis thing. But the other one's very close. Yeah, very cute.
Yeah, and these are both based off of descriptions. Let's see. I'm gonna be putting it up on Twitter soon. But yeah, dinosaur. Which dinosaur would you eat? Since you're not
All
accepting
right,
the allegations.
let's
Yeah.
see. Let's see. I mean, herbivores always taste a little better, right? Imagine like, what was the one with the huge neck that like hung out in like the water? The Brontosaurus.
Okay, the Brontosaurus. Do you say
I feel
herbivores
like we
taste
could
better?
barbecue a Brontosaurus together pretty well. Yeah.
So I
Uh,
would argue. Like, okay, we're turning this into an argument now. Uh, how do you feel about lamb?
lamb. I like lamb. Very soft, comes off the bone.
Uh-huh. But how do you feel about fresh lamb?
Fresh lamb. I've never had very fresh lamb, but I assume it would taste like duck, right? The texture.
Yeah,
I like duck a lot.
because most people don't like the gamey taste of lamb, and lamb is very gamey in terms of the more domesticated meats. But yeah, okay. If you do you, would you say you prefer lamb over everything else?
No, I would not. Chicken's always my favorite. It's just so good.
All right.
Velociraptor would taste like shit now thinking about it. It's like all muscle, very gamey, and it just hunts other dinosaurs all day.
Yeah, I think you would like something that would have like a lot of like fat to it.
Yes, a brontosaurus.
Brontosaurus? Okay, you know what? That makes sense. You won me over. And yeah, people saw my drawing. My they saw my shitty live rendition of like drawing Blue Rivers too. It's really funny.
Oh, you just posted it?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah.
All right. Next up is Hazard at Hazop Art asks, "Hello, Mr. Hirotonfa. What is your favorite historical uniform slash outfit?
Like of all time, all history.
If you had one to say at the moment, yeah.
British redcoats off the top of my head. Very nice,
Oh,
simple,
British,
sleek.
yeah. Have you seen the King Lear rendition of
No.
the more modern rendition with the who was what was the guy's name? Lord of the Rings played Gandalf the Great.
Oh, no, not Christopher Lee.
No,
Who played Gandalf? That's a great question.
but there was
He just
a
became Gandalf in my head. He was so good an actor.
but he
Ian McKellen.
Ian McKellen, yes. Ian McKellen had a performance of King Lear where it was set in a more modern, well, not modern, but like, I think it was turn of the 18th century, uh, England, where it took place in. And it had that type of aesthetic with how people were like wearing their outfits and everything. So you see a lot of the British turncoats, redcoats, sorry, not turncoats.
Yeah,
And
no, that was the Patriots side.
yeah, and it was very aesthetically interesting. I think you would like that rendition of King Lear. It was still a play. It was still performed as a play, but it was recorded. There's some recording somewhere of Ian's King Lear, not his per se, but when he performed in it.
I'll see if I can find it. I've been enjoying some period dramas lately with the well, I saw like Barry Lyndon. That was beautifully composed and just a very fun plot.
Yeah, no,
But
that
that's like
was
the adventure of like I don't even know how to describe just this Irish guy going insane, starting like a bizarre string of life events in the 1700s.
I've been a big fan of Turkish armor.
The Janissaries, yeah,
Yeah,
classic big head.
and with specifically there was a specific period where they had a lot of folds on the armors, like lots of different like plates alongside everything. Uh, which one? You know they have those pointy heads and everything.
Yes.
Samer, uh, Kemer. I don't know how you pronounce it.
It's all right. I have no idea either. But it's cool that you mentioned, yeah, the Ottomans and the Janissaries. They're actually like the main
Oh, the Ottomans, yeah.
our rival in Ponte to the Empire. I haven't really done much with them yet, but it almost comes purely down to like visuals.
I
Like
think
that's
about
a
them a
great
lot,
counterweight.
and I actually have a character design based off of this type of armor. But
That's great. Yeah, the laminar. It's this very, you can see like their tyrannic kind of like Central Asian origin very clearly, and their armor design sensibilities, and it's just so cool.
yeah,
It's very cool.
I sent you both what I was
Whoa,
thinking.
Turkish Joan of Arc. Very cool.
Yeah, Turkish Joan of Arc. Oh no, there's a lot I want to get into this character, but not anytime soon. But yeah, um, there was that question. I hope that answers your question, Hazard.
Yeah, I drew a few like Janissary, like girls of various kinds.
Oh yeah,
And
you did. Yeah. I remember.
that's also something of like where the designs didn't really work on their own, and there was really no idea behind like me liking the visuals. But now with Fonte, I'm able to like go, oh, okay, now there's a whole fucking empire and nation that looks like this now. Very fun to work with.
Lusitani asks, ask him what his favorite Flash game is.
Favorite Flash game? Oh man, I gotta think back. What's yours, Chang? We'll start with the.
Mine is Ponta Historia. No,
It's not a Flash game.
I know.
Age of War took up a lot of hours of my life as a kid, and there was also, I think it was called Feudalism. It was like 2D Mountain Blade before Mountain Blade even. Like you buy a bunch of mercenaries and you just like go around the map fighting. It's like live action, or not live action. It's like real time Might and Magic, Heroes of Might and Magic almost. And that was really fun, just organizing a little mercenary group to walk around and fight with. Feudalism 2, I think it was called. But yeah,
Feudalism
Age
2.
of War is also. Was it called Age of War? It was like dun 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 dun. Dun. It had that classic song. You would like go from caveman to the future, and it was just like yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, oh boy, I'm trying to think of what Flash games I devoted the most of my life to. They're not necessarily good Flash games, but I've played a lot of them.
Some of them were very long. Like Epic Battle Fantasy is also a good one
yeah.
that like ended up just becoming like an actual game eventually. Well, good for them.
I played a lot of Alien Hominid back in the day.
Alien Hominid. I only played the console one. Well, I tried the Flash one a bit, but it was very slow on my old computer. But yeah, I remember playing that on my GameCube, and that was great.
Yeah, Alien Hominid took up a lot of my time when I was a kid. Again, shout out to Tom Folt, the guy who allows me to be on the radio here and have these shows. But yeah, Tom has made like really fun games, and then he's made Pico Day, which oh man, the history of Newgrounds is so interesting and so fun to like think back on.
It's something I don't talk about or get the opportunity to talk about too much, but yeah, it's like the foundation of like inspiring me to just see things and go like I can make things like on the internet as like a 6-year-old kid or something. It was that in Gmod shitpost videos. I want to do that. I want to be like that. That's cool.
Gmod had a lot. I think kids nowadays still have that with Roblox because
oh yeah, Roblox as well. Shitposts.
I see
the drive-by one.
Roblox is very, very. There's a lot of creativity within Roblox, and kids are learning how to do insane things in it.
Yeah,
which is really wild. And
it is like a really bizarre engine that's teaching kids something, and they can show it off to their friends instantly, and they all go, "Wow, fun!"
And I'm scared because, like, man, look at these resources the kids have versus what we had, and you're gonna see some like. No, yeah.
I love this video, man.
Wait, what video did you put up?
Yeah. So funny. Oh man, this is the audio and everything.
I want to put it up so bad, but yeah.
I forgot about the dialogue.
I want to put it up so bad, but I can't. Okay, just
of course, I understand.
For everybody, just look up Roblox Drive-By.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh man, this stuff makes me laugh. Okay.
No, that reminds me of my hometown.
And next up is yeah, okay. No, that was the last question. Other ones is Vaquero at Valencia Vaquero asks, "Wow, he's a cool guy."
Oh, thank you very much. How did you say that with that cool accent? Vaquero?
Oh, Valencia Vaquero.
Valencia Vaquero?
Yeah,
Did I say it right? Yeah,
yeah.
there we go.
All right, and yeah, that's pretty much all the questions that we have. I'm gonna do a quick refresh just to check. And yeah, no, that's it. We got the how to draw blue rivers in today, and oh man, I made her eyes like the first one that I drew was mad funny. I didn't I didn't even give her a nose in the second one, but yeah. Okay, I'm gonna put this up later. But yeah, thank you for coming on the show tonight. It was a pleasure.
Oh, it was an absolute blast. It was way more fun.
And for again, if people saw the game that was playing in the background on YouTube right now, it is Ponta Historia, coming out soon. It might be out
Yeah,
when you watch this
should be
video.
a week from now. Yeah, I don't want to rush KC so much. He's doing such musical bangers.
Yeah, it'll be out when it's out. You can check it out on itch.io when it's out, or
I'll
itch.io.
post about it like on my Twitter, and I'm sure people see it. I'll also do kind of a little teaser thing for my own YouTube as well.
And no, it's very fun. It's very funny from what I've been playing, and I've been enjoying it. I got stuck because I've been talking and not paying attention to what the dialogue has been saying for some time. And but it's genuinely a very fun game, very old school RPG, like NES RPG,
Mhm.
and highly recommended. Check out Blue Rivers Revolution on Webtoons. Check out HIRO on Twitter at HIROTONFA and on Newgrounds under the same name. Is there any other place? Oh yeah, support him on Patreon.
Yeah, that should be. I guess I got the YouTube channel that I very periodically update sometimes with Let's Plays with friends or something like that.
Oh yeah, I tuned in on those every now and then.
Oh, well, thank you. The mic quality's been getting better and better each one, but even some of the recent ones don't like destroy eardrums. But I'll figure that out.
Yeah, I will link everything in the YouTube description underneath. So if you guys want to check them out, please check them out down there. But yeah, thank you for tuning in tonight. Thank you for going on as late as you are.
Yeah, well, thank you very much as well. It was a blast.
Yeah. And with that, I'm going to leave everything off. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Adios, amigos.
I should be a voice actor professionally.
Yeah.